Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call the City of Homestead Special Call Council meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, August 15th, 2023, and it is now 5 o'clock p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bailey. Councilwoman Avila.
Here.
Councilwoman Faircloth Staggers. Councilman Roth. Councilman Fletcher.
Here.
Vice Mayor Guzman.
Here.
And Mayor Losner.
Here. Very good. Our next item is tab 1. Mr. Pearl.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, tab 1 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute an agreement with Inliner Solutions LLC for closed-circuit television cleaning and inspection of sewer main lining repairs and pipe rehabilitation, utilizing the terms and conditions of the City of Hollywood contract awarded pursuant to invitation to bid IFB 001-23OT, project number 7103A, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Mayor, thank you. Staff recommends the mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing city manager to enter into agreement with Inliner for closed-circuit television cleaning and inspection of sewer main lining repairs and cured in-place pipe rehabilitation. This purchase is in accordance with the City of Hollywood infiltration program cured in-place pipeline IFB 001-23OT, project number 7103A. The city manager is also authorized to provide a price adjustment increase of up to 10% if necessary. The cost of the project is $198,132.
Thank you. Any initial questions or comments from council? No. Is there a reality TV show to be had in there somewhere?
I wish we did. It'd be more interesting than this. This has to do with Pump Station 11. We're doing upgrades on it right now, and this project is adjacent to it, and this is work that we would have to do as well to make the pump station compliant to remove the partial moratorium we have from the county.
Very good. Closed circuit TV in the sewer lines. All right.
Yes, sir.
Is there any public? Yes, sir. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you. When would the moratorium be lifted after this work?
So this work is related to Basin 15. As soon as this work is completed, we can certify to the county that it has been complete and the restrictions for Basin 15 would be lifted. As far as Pump Station 11, you all will recall that last month you authorized the design work to begin. So with that, it's going to be a little bit of a longer process. We need to complete the design drawings, go out to bid for construction. However, we're estimating about 18 months.
And do we have any permits on hold, or projects on hold due to that moratorium?
For Pump Station 11, not that I am aware of at this moment, but we can certainly find out.
Yeah, there was one project that was going to tie into Pump Station 11, but we were able to tie it into a different pump station, so we didn't have any restrictions on that project moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. So I'll open the public hearing to comment from members of the audience. Is there anyone online wishing to speak on this matter? None appearing. I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve tab 1.
So moved.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Second by Councilwoman Bailey. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bailey?
Yes.
Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Fletcher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faircloth Staggers? Councilwoman Avila?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Guzman?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Mr. Manager, does that conclude your business for the special call?
That includes my business, yes.
Mr. Attorney, do you need anything before a special call meeting? Hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the special call meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by the Vice Mayor. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, and we will open the CRA meeting in just a moment. You know, they're messing with us. They're playing musical chairs with the clerk down there. You ready? Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call the City of Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency Board meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, August 15th, 2023, and it is now 5:06 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Avila,
Here.
Board Member Faircloth Staggers, Board Member Roth, Board Member Bailey, Board Member Fletcher,
Here.
Vice Chairman Guzman,
Here.
Chairman Losner.
Here. All right, we have, first, Ms. Driver, are there any deletions or deferrals from the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, our first item, we have before us the minutes from the meeting of July 26th, 2023, and I'll entertain a motion for approval of those minutes. Moved by the Vice Chair, seconded by Board Member Bailey. There are no further questions or comments. All in favor? Any opposed? Next item is tab 2, Mr. Attorney.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Tab 2 is a resolution of the Board of Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Homestead, Florida, acceptance of property conveyance to the CRA by the City of Homestead, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Ms. Driver?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Triangle Project is a mixed-use, multifamily, transit-oriented development that will be located at the entrance of the historic Southwest neighborhood at 4th Street and Railroad Avenue. The first phase of the project consists of 16 parcels. One of those parcels, Miami-Dade County Folio number 107813-0480150, is owned by the City of Homestead. The parcel is no longer required and is therefore surplus to the city's needs. Staff recommends that the CRA Board approve the attached resolution accepting conveyance of city surplus lot folio number 107813-0480150 to be used for the development of the Triangle Project.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from this board? Okay, I'll invite any member of the public to come forward and make any comment. Or is there anyone online? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve this item. Moved by the Vice Chair, seconded by Board Member Bailey. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Fletcher,
Yes.
Board Member Faircloth Staggers, Board Member Roth, Board Member Avila,
Yes.
Board Member Bailey, Vice Chairman Guzman,
Yes.
Chairman Losner.
Yes,
The motion carries.
thank you all. Next is tab 3. Mr. Attorney?
Yes, tab 3, Mr. Chair, is a resolution of the Board of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Homestead, Florida, acceptance of property conveyance to the CRA by the City of Homestead, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Ms. Driver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As part of the Southwest Neighborhood Renaissance, the CRA proposes to bring economic development through the arts to the gateway of this historic area, Southwest 4th Street and Railroad Avenue. Homestead Live will create an indoor and outdoor space filled with cultural experiences, heritage programs, and fitness and meditation, and will use art to build a vibrant cultural ecosystem between Homestead and South Miami-Dade County. Staff recommends that the CRA Board approve the attached resolution accepting the conveyance of surplus lot folio number 107813-0390050 to be used for the development of Homestead Live.
Thank you, Ms. Driver. Any questions or comments from the board? Yeah, Board Member Bailey.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to say that the closer we get, the more excited I am for this. It's so hard to kind of imagine all of these pieces fitting in together, but now that we're getting closer, I just wanted to commend all of you at the CRA for just having this all-encompassing vision of what we need here in the Southwest. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Bailey. So I'll open it up to public comment now. Is there anyone in the audience or online? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion of the hearing and ask for a motion to approve this item. Moved by Board Member Bailey, seconded by Vice Chair Guzman. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Bailey? Board Member Roth? Board Member Fairclough Staggers? Board Member Avila?
Yes.
Board Member Fletcher?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Guzman?
Yes.
Chairman Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Hey, thank you. That takes us to tab 4. Mr. Pearl?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Tab 4 is a resolution of the Board of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Homestead, Florida, acceptance of property conveyance to the CRA by the City of Homestead, providing for implementation and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Ms. Driver?
The vacant lot next to City Hall, folio number 1079180000239, is contaminated with arsenic. The CRA has an opportunity to apply for a brownfields grant to clean up several properties in and near downtown and would like to include this parcel, which is owned by the city. To be included in the application, the city must own the property. Staff recommends that the CRA Board approve the attached resolution accepting conveyance of city parcel folio number 1079180000239.
Okay, thank you. Any initial questions or comments from the board on this item? All right, I'll open it up to public comment. Anyone online? Yes, please come forward. If you'll give us your name and address for the record, and we have a 2-minute time limit on public comment. Can you pull down the microphone so we can hear you?
My name is Melinda Washington. I'm here to,
Pull down the microphone to you. Thank you.
I'm here to inquire about the parking lot. I think it's divided into my parenthesis Miami-Dade College, and the other parking lot has a zone level of a personal parking lot. I don't know if it was still in consideration with the city of Miami. However, the cars that were parked, which ventured out into the uptown area, was parked in some of the parking spaces that was required for people who work at the city or in the city. And it was infested. And so we inquired that the city viewed the area, and those cars that seemed like it was on to remove it and have them towed. So if the question are you're not allowed to have it towed until the parking lot is covered by the city, because automatically shouldn't the parking lot be covered by the city?
I think the question is, you're talking about cars that are parked, cars that are parked on the property we're talking about. And certainly when this goes forward, that property is going to be secured. There'll be no parking there. Folks are really not supposed to be parking there now. There are improved parking lots for Miami-Dade as well as City Hall and the transit lines. So, the property will be fenced off at some point, and there shouldn't be anything there to tow.
All righty. Well, just to let you know that some of the cars that were parked in certain areas because of the contradiction of it being with the city and with the county, and they were towed, the tow was covered. So there shouldn't be any problems with the city being inquired to.
Right. No, the city owns the property, and we're going to convey it to our own internal agency. This has nothing to do with the county-owned parcel or Miami-Dade College-owned property.
All right. Gracias.
Thank you. All right. So do we have a motion to approve this conveyance? Moved by the Vice Chair. Seconded by Board Member Bailey. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Roth? Board Member Fairclough Staggers? Board Member Fletcher?
Yes.
Board Member Avila?
Yes.
Board Member Bailey? Vice Chairman Guzman?
Yes.
Chairman Lossner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Very good. Thank you. Now for the fun parts, the gratifying parts of the agenda. Tab 5, Mr. Pearl.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Tab 5 is a resolution of the Board of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the allocation of business incentive grant program funds, approving grant agreement, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Ms. Driver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a very exciting time tonight where we have two business incentive grants that we want to present to you all for consideration. Staff is excited about these because they fit perfectly in with the purpose of the CRA, which is to eliminate slum and blight. Both buildings that we are requesting investment into have been vacant for over 10 years. And one in particular, this first one that's in tab 5, was a major eyesore in the heart of our downtown for many, many years. We also are excited because we believe that investing in these two businesses will show the business community outside of the city of city of Homestead, that the city is open for business and willing to support and invest in businesses to come down and be a part of our downtown. These will help to increase property values within the CRA area and provide improvements that are up to the standard of the city. So we're very excited about this. And the first one up is Throwback. The grantee is La Nostalgia. And before I introduce them, I also would like to just announce that, one of our first business incentive grantees, Cirque Salon, they will be having their grand open ribbon cutting on September 7th at 12 noon, and it will be on you all's calendar probably tomorrow, so that you will make sure that you're able to attend. So we're very excited about that, and I'm sure you all are as well. And so we are optimistic that Throwback, and Andres and Isela, their business will follow suit to bring new energy, new vitality to our community. So with that said, let me ask you, Mr. Chair, do you want me to go through the memo or just go the presentation? Yes. Yes, we do have a PowerPoint presentation.
Word and the property. Let's see the PowerPoint presentation
good.
and then hear from the owners.
Sounds good to me. Thank you.
First of all, I would like to thank the council for this opportunity, for the time, and the CRA for all the work that they're doing. My name is Andres Carmiol. I'm a freelance professional artist. I'm a graphic designer, I'm a tattoo artist, and a muralist, as well as a fine artist. I have shown my art all over the United States. I had a residency in a gallery in LA for many years. I've been able to show my art in Berlin and Tokyo as well. I purchased 140 North Chrome after many years of leaving notes and kind of knocking on the door and seeing promise in this space. I was just there. And eventually, during the pandemic, I got that opportunity. I was able to purchase the property. I had always had the intention of opening this business concept that I'm going to speak to you about. This is the second business of the like that I have ran. I had a very similar shop in Costa Rica. Why Homestead? I am a product of this community. I was brought to the Florida Keys when I was 8 years old by my parents. I started my tattoo apprenticeship there at the age of 13 at Key Largo Illustrations under my uncle. He was the man that changed the laws in Monroe County to make tattoo shops legal in that county. We ran a business there, that tattoo shop, Key Largo Illustrations, for over 25 years. I helped manage tattoo and ran the day-to-day operations there. So I have experience in this field. What else can I tell you? I got my AA here at Miami-Dade campus, Homestead campus in fine arts. And I've lived here in Homestead for over 23 years. I have a home here. And I have seen the growth and the promise that all of this work that is being done. You can see it in the street visibly. So I decided to make the investment myself and take this step to be a catalyst of change and bring art and counterculture and things to this community that I see that are lacking. I'd like to introduce Isela.
Good evening. Oops. My name is Isela Carmiol. I will be the assistant manager at Throwback, and I will also be the marketing consultant. I have a degree in public relations, advertising, and applied communication from FIU, so I'll be utilizing my skills to bring awareness to Throwback's presence, to attain clientele and retain it as well. I will be overseeing our communication strategies, which I'll be using social media, e-newsletters. I'll be updating our website regularly, and also I'll be organizing the community events and anything else that would be needed administrative-wise.
So again, the mission statement really is to bring art and counterculture and this element of nostalgia that we provide through our products to our community, and do it, with excellent customer service. We not only provide custom tattooing professionally done, but we sell original artwork. We're going to have a gallery in the downstairs area that's going to host art shows that are going to rotate local artists every 2 months. We also sell nostalgia products and collectibles, much like the t-shirt I'm wearing this moment. Believe it or not, there's this growing market that is looking for these sort of items. They hold a value because they're old, they're no longer available, and they're rare. That goes the like with comic books, retro video games, and the other products that we're going to be selling as well that are really going to attract a lot of people that are interested in those things. We're also providing skateboarding products, which we noticed was a niche that is completely ignored in our area and has shown a lot of growth. Again, to go into detail with the tattoos, the location has 2 floors. The reception for the tattoo area would be downstairs, and the tattoos will actually be administered upstairs in a private area with access to a very nice rooftop for guests and the people that are getting tattooed. So the tattoo market is huge. It's only growing. It's been showing growth for many years without stopping. In general, tattoo shops see an average of a 55% profit margin. If you compare that to restaurants have like a 10%. It's a very nice, cushy profit margin for us. Everything that I'm bringing up to you, this concept, is backed up by marketing and by trends that we're seeing just growing and exploding. They're clearly there. They're happening all over the United States, but in other countries as well. One of the main things that I wanted to bring to your attention is that the median age in our area is 30 years old. That's very, very young. This is from our local census. There's the population age range also breaks down in this way. 10 to 19-year-old is 10%, 20 to 29-year-olds is 15%, and 30 to 39-year-olds is 15% as well. It's a very young demographic that we've noticed is now being catered to by businesses. Again, our demographic is somewhere between 16 years old and 45 years old, and the median being 30 is just a perfect location for us as far as those demographics go. Our customers are also the same customers that attend comic book conventions, video game conventions, and events of that like in our area, like for example, SuperCon that happens in Miami, see attendance of 55,000 people. The vintage event called ThriftCon that's also in Miami saw an attendance of 40,000 people. So that shows a very high interest for this sort of product in our area that's not really being fulfilled, especially in Homestead.
So the future of our company, as we see, there's an upward trend in these markets. And what's great about the shop is that because we do cater to so many different customers, we're able to shape and mold our shop as we need it to. So we could, remove a portion of the inventory that is no longer being, as popular as it was, and maybe replace it with something else, maybe a new trend that has come in its place.
So I mentioned before that we had a very similar business, and it's always been the focus. I'm an artist before I'm a businessman, and I've always been interested in bringing that aspect of art and culture to the community that we're in. I see a real need for it here, and I want to be helpful in that. I want to take part in doing that here. We used to do a lot of community-based events in my old business, so I brought that up. We used to do video game tournaments and movie nights and art shows just the same. These sort of activities, we would like to provide them mostly on the rooftop that we hope to provide for our customers. For the sake of brevity, I'm not going to go into these specs very much because I do not want to talk your ear off. But if you have any questions regarding the layout, the build out, anything of that sort, you can please email us and we will provide them. Right now it stands at 3,654 square feet, owner occupied. And yes. This is the bottom picture there is the current state of the rooftop right now. That is a rendering of where we would like to be. And this again is to provide a space for community events. In this case, we would provide movie nights, video game tournaments, yoga classes. And again, this would be the space that the tattoo customers upstairs would have as a waiting area, or their guests as a waiting area while the tattoos are being made. Here's the layout of the first floor floor plan. As you can see there, there is the art gallery and the reception area and the retail space. I failed to mention, but if you notice in the back, there is an art workshop. We'll be producing art and our own products in-house to sell in the retail space as well. This is the second story where the tattoo stations, the office, and the rooftop spaces. Again, any questions that you have about those sort of things, we can address them later via email. It's also important to explain a little bit about our company organization. La Nostalgia LLC holds Throwback and also my personal art sales, paintings, murals that do not fall as tattoos. And Paper Champion LLC actually holds the building, 140 North Chrome, and company vehicles. This structure is done in this matter as it was advised from my accountant. This will eventually fall under an S Corp, which we will form once we begin operations.
Good, well, thank you, and I'll open that up. If that concludes your portion, I'll open it up to questions or comments from the members of the board. Who would like to kick it off? Council, board member Bailey?
Thank you, Chairman. Exciting, exciting, exciting. I honestly, I've heard a little bit of what was going into it, but I love the model of it. I love how you can change with what the current trends are. I love the idea of the hosting video game tournaments. My husband was the manager at Flagship Cinemas many years back, and they started hosting them before they closed down, and they were doing really well. So I am sure that you will get a very good response from that. So just commend you on your presentation here, and I'm very happy to support it. Thank you.
You already know, Councilwoman, that you can count on me for art, to bring art here, and I will continue to, work in whatever local events and help spread that.
Yes, he was also one of our artists in the spotlight. Thank you, thank you. Same here.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for your investment in our downtown. We've been pushing for that investment for quite some time, and to see that starting to come to fruition is really satisfying. I love the rooftop idea. We've been pushing for rooftops here for a while too. I think you'd be the first rooftop. Is there any other rooftop that has got here before? No. So yeah, you guys will be the first. I think what you're doing is extremely trendy. Homestead also needs to embrace some new trends. I'm going to support this 100%. I wanted to ask, the funds that the city is going to provide, do you have an idea of how you're going to utilize those funds specifically?
Yes, absolutely. We have a detailed budget with all that we could provide.
Okay, so you want us to email you those questions so that you could send it back to us?
Just for the sake of brevity, I mean, I don't want to take you guys' time, but I mean, we could even run down through a quick rundown if you'd like.
I'd love to hear it.
Okay. Do you want to go into it a little bit?
See if I could. But yeah, it's pretty much a full build out. So we need drywall.
Go ahead.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't say full, but so can you go to the first floor? We're going to need new drywall. For most of those. Oh, perfect. Thank you. So yeah, so I'll just go down the list. We're going to need HVAC. Do you need the costs as well?
No, just.
Okay. Drywall, as I mentioned, full electrical. So that includes a brand new electrical panel as well, and all new wiring, all throughout. Brand new plumbing, all brand new plumbing is going to be installed. None of the old plumbing is going to be reused at all. The rooftop flooring, which we're trying to go a different route. We're not trying to do like a deck, which is usually customary. But we're going to do the electrical fixtures, paint, and cabinetry for the bathrooms and the kitchenette. And we're going to do flooring on the second floor. But for the most part, everything's going to be exposed. So all the electrical and the plumbing is going to be completely exposed, the way that a lot of new buildings are doing nowadays. And it actually looks great. I feel like they usually just paint the ceiling and everything's just black, And we're going to leave the walls concrete.
So the building in its current state, we're not changing very much of it. Most of it, of what we're talking about here, is all taking place in that space where you see where it says office, general storage. That's pretty much where all the drywall is. We're trying to leave the building as is as much as possible. And again, we're going for like an industrial kind of feel. So there's very little to do. The building is in its state and we're going to use it as it is. As well as the upstairs, there's really not much to do.
Okay, thank you very much. I love the fact that you're also going to be hosting tournaments. We just had a pickleball tournament, which was amazing. It brought a lot of new people to Homestead. So tournaments are something that are also very important to the city of Homestead. So definitely looking forward to this coming online soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Any further comments? Ready? Board Member Avila or Board Member Fletcher, anything to weigh in on?
Yes, thank you, Chair. It was really kind of difficult to hear everything that was being said in the presentation. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, thank you. I do like the diversity that this will bring to the commercial makeup of our downtown area. I like the business strategy and the variety of options or activities that will be offered in the overall business. I'm going to base a lot of my my thoughts for approval on this on the CRA director and their team's due diligence and their review overall of the applicant and their packet. And, really want to make an approval based on good spirits because this is a lot of money, and it would be one of those things where if this is a business plan that's not going to, be lucrative and really not going to, be on, end on a positive note, this is like one of those challenges where if it looks bad on us if we approve these kinds of funds and it's not a business that's been vetted or been a business that's going to thrive or that's going to survive. So as much as we want to attract new exciting businesses, there is a leap of faith that goes into making these approvals. And so I'm basing my approval on the CRA director's due diligence, their team, also the presentation. I do think it's a good strategy. And just, really shine as a result of this grant. We want to make sure that all the businesses that we invest in, that they really shine and they come out on top and they, are one of the shining stars in our downtown. So I encourage you, and I want to, ask that you keep us in the loop and that you invite us to your grand openings, add us to your newsletters, and send us frequent updates, which we enjoy from several of our other grant recipients. So please know that when we pass these approvals and we give 75, 100,000 more, this is not a decision that we make lightly. This is very important. This is funds that we are investing in hopes that it will become a great diamond for us in our downtown. So thank you for investing in our city and for collaborating with us, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, board member. Go ahead.
I would like to thank you for all the comments. I appreciate them. And I would like to just add that we do have experience. We're very confident in what is going to happen, and we saw the profit margins in our first business model. And we don't take it lightly as well. We very much know that it is a debt to the city to carry out our business and to do well. And I assure you, I've dedicated my entire life to my pursuit of my art and what I do. And failure is not an option to me. So I assure you we will do our best.
Thank you. I'd just like to add, today is it's a very appropriate day that you come here, and I just want to say I'm so happy that this has evolved into something more than a tattoo shop. That multi-generational, several different components. But today we attended the ribbon cutting and the grand opening of this Miami-Dade College building next door. And they have some really nice gallery space there for their students. And I was talking to some of the administrators there today about how that can play off of our art in public places. But my point is I know that the art community here in Homestead and Greater South Dade is going to be very excited about additional gallery space for both up and coming and seasoned artists to have an additional place to display their works, not only next door at Miami-Dade College with the students and in the Seminole Theater, but here in your place that will have a whole new, I think, synergy of traffic. And sitting here thinking about it, it occurred to me that what you plan to do there now will attract a wide age range, from younger teenagers who have to have their parents bring them here, which brings adults downtown, but it's all going to kind of play off each other. And bottom line is for $75,000, the city is getting a built-out building with 2 floors and a rooftop space, and based upon your resume and your experience, deep experience in as an artist and as a tattoo artist, you seem like you're pretty nimble. That you're not going to sit in this building and go broke. You will make the changes you need to make to continue in operation. And what's appealing to to this grant for me is that everything that the city is putting into this will stay with the building.
Right.
You know, we all
Correct.
have unforeseen circumstances. If you are not there, that building will be ready to go for the next user. It's not as if we're buying inventory and supplies for you, that we are contributing to the revitalization of the brick and mortar part of downtown. And I want to thank you, and I appreciate your vision and your commitment. And I don't think there could be a more appropriate day after what we had happen next door, because I see certainly the thousands of students that are migrating to Miami-Dade College, kind of floating over to your shop on Chrome Avenue for any number of reasons, and that's all part of the synergy we're looking for. And I think this is a very small. It's a lot of bang for. I believe this will be a lot of bang for our buck to have a building that's been shuttered for maybe closer to 20 years, to have it open and lit and welcoming to anyone who comes by. So look forward to it. So if there's no comment from the public, close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve this item. Moved by Board Member Bailey, seconded by the Vice Chair. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Bailey? Board Member Roth? Board Member Fletcher?
Yes.
Board Member Avila?
Yes.
Board Member Fairclough Staggers? Chairman Guzman?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Guzman, sorry. Chairman Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you all. Look forward to it.
Thank you very much.
What's your time frame? I meant to ask, in a perfect world, what's your time frame for opening the doors?
In a perfect world, November would be wonderful if we can
You're the most
figure out the
optimistic
permit
person
process
in this
and
room
everything.
tonight.
November would be wonderful.
Look forward
But
to it.
I look forward to being a part of the community, and you guys will continue to see me, and I'll continue to be involved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look, one last question. Do you guys have permits already?
They already did the impact windows.
So we have an architect that is submitting everything like in the next following couple of days or so.
Let's make it
That should be
December. Let's
submitted.
make it December then.
Sorry?
Not to throw cold water on you, but
Yeah. No, I have already, I understand, I know.
but we're with you.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. It means a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Next item, tab 6.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Tab 6 is a resolution of the Board of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the allocation of Business Relocation Expansion Grant Program funds, approving a grant agreement, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
All right, let's take a breather here until one of our colleagues returns. We've lost our quorum for the moment. And we're back. Ms. Driver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So staff recommends the CRA Board approve the attached resolution authorizing a business incentive grant to La Patrona Bakery Corporation in the amount of $250,000 for impact fees and build-out. This one is another grant that we are excited to present to you all. This building has been vacant since it was, I think, Floors and Doors was the name of the business back in 2006. La Patrona Bakery purchased the building, the warehouse, I should say, to expand their current operations, which is located just 2 doors east of there in the little strip mall next to the Cybrarium. So the owner of La Patrona is here to do a presentation to you all. And in addition, when you take your break, there are some treats in the break room for you guys as well if you wanted to sample some bakery items. So, no problem.
Straight out of the Sweet Jaylene's playbook, right?
So, Luis,
Go forward.
where did he go?
Yeah.
Oh, there, sorry.
Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening.
We good? It's on. We didn't get that longer arm yet on the microphone.
That's the longest one they make, but we're coming up with some ideas to address
We
that.
dig a hole in the floor for tall
Yeah, something like
speakers or
that.
what? Okay.
All right. Good evening. A quick, round of thanks. I said individually earlier, but if it wasn't for that small business recognition ceremony that we had back in June, I wouldn't have the chance to run into Leslie and Kamitra and Malika. And that kind of opened up a big opportunity for me because it changed the pacing of how aggressive I can go with the project. So, and of course, I want to thank my architect, Alan, who's in the crowd, from First Horizon, Gabriela. Without them, without the bank and the architect, I would be nowhere. And of course, my wife over there with my kids, Marielle, of course, most important. But anyways, I'll move ahead. My name is Luis Echegaray. I am the owner of La Patrona Bakery at 110 West Maori Drive. We're a family-owned, from-scratch bakery here since 2001. We're mainly retail, but we deliver to supermarkets, bodegas, gas stations all over Homestead, and they resell our bread. That's something that actually we started up during the pandemic when things were a little bit rough on the retail side. We also donate to police events, schools, churches, soup kitchens, and various community events. We're big on giving back because I was raised here, so and there aren't too many like from scratch bakeries left out there. So like I like it when people taste my bread and they like compare it to something like from Costco or something. So it's invigorating. And of course we have our two big holiday breads, Pan de Muerto y Rosca de Reyes, and those are huge events and people come down all the way from West Palm for our bread. And we're very proud of that they come all the way down here. There are other Mexican bakeries in between, in Pompano, especially in the Pompano area, but they do come down all the way down here for that. And of course, we've been featured in Telemundo, Univision programs. We've also been featured in the New York Times. So we're doing something right. So if you can see here on the map, we're over on 110 West Maori Drive, right across the street from the Cybrarium, across from the police station. And we purchased the building west, 350 feet. And since 2001, and the funny thing about being in Homestead for so long is I've had 4-year-olds walking into my bakery that now have their own children walking into my bakery. So it's one of those things where my clientele, mi gente, they stay in Homestead. Like so, and I like that because I stayed in Homestead, and I want to see more of that. But we have completely outgrown our current location. So I'll move on to the next. So this is why we purchased the new warehouse. So that's the rendering of the new warehouse. I'll show you the before in a few slides here. And also, just as a caveat, this is not code. Some of these, the rendering company went a little crazy with some awnings that probably will blow away in the first strong wind. But things will be patched up during the real thing.
Apparently nothing's to code, so we'll overlook that.
So I'm going from a 1,200 square foot place to a 5,000 square foot warehouse. So it's a big jump for me. And basically in this 5,000 square foot space, I've had around 6 supermarkets that have been wanting to resell my bread, and I just haven't been able to sell them anything because I don't have any more room to pack bread, to store bread. So that's with that alone, I've covered my loan, and I'll be perfectly fine moving forward with just those 6 supermarkets. Plus, with all the improvements, I think there's going to be a lot more than just the 6 additional supermarkets. I also want to provide the local area to have artisanal hot dog buns, hamburgers that they can purchase for their restaurants. It's important. I want to give Homestead restaurants and businesses in Homestead the ability to have fresh bread, fresh local bread, which is something that we don't have right now. And then mostly the main focus of the business will be I'm going to have larger ovens, more freezer space, and for the first time I'll actually be able to take delivery of pallets of flour as opposed to dragging 150-pound bag of flour into the back of the bakery. Been doing that for 21 years. So I finally will have adequate storage space. And when you scale up like this, when you can buy pallets by the flour, when you can buy sugar by the pallet, you see that you see the margins off of that. Your profit margins grow. So I'm very excited about that as well. So like I said before, we've been here for 20 years. We currently have 9 full-time employees, and we're hoping to double that. With the new space, like I said, provide products to other local businesses. I'm not sure how to word this, but I kind of want to expand the footprint of downtown by like making that area nicer. So now we're just like a little bit more west, and if that's nice and people walk to it, like I think that's everybody wants that. People wants people walking around downtown Homestead. And there I said, I'm trying to make this as attractive as possible so people actually do make the walk. And then, but a big part of our income is people who are looking for a bakery on the way down to the Keys or coming through. And I just expect that to grow as the place gets nicer and, word gets out. So the current challenges, I don't mean this to be doom and gloom, by the way. These are all doable. But we're completing the 40-year recertification as we speak. The initial report is submitted. The roof work is contracted and will be commenced a couple weeks from now. The former owner unfortunately left the permit situation a little bit shaky there, like 7 expired permits, and I'm trying to clean that up. Kamitra actually gave me some great tips for that, so I'm very excited. And the change of contract is already in. A strategy for nullifying the expired permits is being worked on. I did not attach I had 2 or 3 architectural slides, but I did not put them here. But we can share them if you need them. And of course, one of the things that came a little bit, that caught me a little bit flat-footed was the $107,000 of impact fees for to convert the building from a warehouse to a retail bakery. That was a little bit, and of course, everybody's favorite topic, installing a grease trap, which is going to be fun.
Well, let me interrupt you just for our edification and aggravation. So $107,000 in combined city and county impact fees.
Yep.
For how many square feet of building?
5,100 square feet.
5,100. Okay. Thank you. No, I'm just.
No, just making sure. I thought you were fact checking me. Am I all right?
No. I just, so that I know, going forward, it's, as we said, insane.
While we're on that subject, just if I may, do we have a breakdown of who is charging what, the county versus the city?
I forwarded the estimation from MDC from the county to Kamitra. I can re-forward it and get that distributed if you guys need it.
And the reason
ask for that, I think we're going to have it.
Yeah, and the reason, it's a good question for us to know is when Sweet Jaylene's was trying to do their facility, $80,000 worth of impact fees came directly from Miami-Dade County. So $107,000 is for 5,000 square feet is to me outrageous. I don't know what the impact the 5,000 square foot building is going to have. It's going to cost $107,000.
An existing 5,000.
Right. Yeah, I just don't understand that concept. So if we can find out that, not right this minute, but just be curious to see where it comes from. Thank you.
Sure, I will forward that to you. I have it from MDC, from the county directly. I was actually unaware if there's other impact fees other than just the county, but I'm more of a baker than I am permit officer. Okay. Here we go. Okay, but like I said, challenges in this respect, and then I'll move on. So here are the current project finances. I've already purchased the building for $1.3 million. The impact fees are there. I have my construction costs at about $249,000. My design, my architecture and MEP is at $24,500. The stuff that's not staying with the building, like you pointed out before, is that additional cost, which is equipment, which is all bakery ovens, divider rounders, big mixers. But I just wanted to have that there because with this grant, I was gonna, let's say, spend all of next year doing construction little by little as money came in. But with the grant, I could possibly just go into putting together the money for the equipment so I can open beginning of next year, not 1 year from the beginning of next year. So exciting. And the investment that I'm looking for is the $250,000. I'll pause there if anybody has any questions. All right.
Mayor, I have one more question.
Sure.
In the previous slide, you mentioned a grease trap.
Yes.
Did you receive estimates for that yet?
I am using a company called Bob's Plumbing. Their shop a little bit 15 minutes north. They have the breakdown. Sorry, I have the breakdown per line item, and the grease trap is included in that breakdown.
Okay.
I don't have the number right off the top of my head though, but if you give me 1 second.
It's not for this conversation, but just for us to know, because we had mentioned that in the past, as we developed the downtown, one of the impact fees would be if restaurants wanted to come into the downtown, was the impact of the grease trap, which is really not something that the city controls as far as regulations go. It's more of Durham and Miami-Dade County that handle that. So we wanted to make some dollars available for those who wanted to invest in the downtown restaurant-wise, which you're doing in a way. But it'd be interesting to know, since you're actually going through that process now, what we can plan on in the future for making those adjustments to others that are going to be coming in and putting restaurants in the area. We'll have that figure in our mind because we did set aside monies for that. So
I will be happy to provide a transparent breakdown as soon as I get back to my computer.
That'd be awesome.
But here I have grease traps plus 4 drains, estimated $30K. That's from my plumber. That's from the company I'm going to be using. But I'll get you something better than that later on. Okay?
That doesn't seem very expensive, does it? $30,000 for a grease trap. You know,
4 drains.
But it depends on. That's also measured based on load too. So you're
right. A bakery is not considered a high grease load.
Right.
It's as opposed to, because they calculate that per tables.
Sure.
But I'm not going to have that many tables. I'm just going to be baking a lot of bread. So it's a little bit. So I'm on the lower side of the count there. But I will have something for you after this.
Great. Thank you so much.
But this is fun. This is like testing my homework. Did I do my homework? And that's the before picture. So I did not take Kamitra's advice and have them on the same slide. I should have, but that's the before picture, and this is the after picture. And I would like to think that's a big impact. I really like what I'm aiming for. And then so timeline. We're aiming to with this grant money approved. I'm aiming to have construction complete by the end of 2023. That's fairly ambitious. Early 2024 might be more likely, but once the construction is complete, I will need about a month and a half, 2 months to put all my baking equipment in and calibrate it. It's more like baking specific stuff. But after my busy season, which finishes at the end of February, I want to do I'm planning to have a grand opening, and I do have the ability to do like a potential soft opening before that. And I can invite everybody and see what's going on. I want to see if I was wondering if Alan was laughing about the construction timeline. Okay, and here I have some more renders on the left about kind of how the interior would look. They put my logo everywhere, which is kind of funny. I like that, but basically just if you're not familiar with Mexican products, what we do in Guatemalan products, what we do is people take a tray and they self-serve themselves, and they come up to the counter and we package it up, and then it's kind of like a pick up and go. So that's kind of a more unique experience anywhere in the United States. And I also wanted to highlight the kitchen area. Right now everything's very tight in my current kitchen. I would just love to one day be able to work with enough space to make moves. And that is it. Any questions?
Yeah. Board members, we'd like to kick off the conversation. Go ahead, Councilwoman or Board member.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, just as exciting. I think everybody has heard of your bakery. So to see that success and that growth, obviously that's what we are in this for. Hopefully we can figure something out with those awnings because I think that it adds a lot of flair. I'm getting throwbacks of Maui murals, and this is exactly what I want to see driving down Maui, is just a taste of everything that Homestead has to offer. So I hope that there is some type of version of those awnings that you can keep. Yeah,
We are planning a rather big mural at the front of the building, and pending some permitting stuff.
All right, we need to talk about that. I would love to talk to you about that. That is coming back on the agenda soon, as soon as school is is going. But no, I love everything about your place. I'm excited to see that growth, and yeah, wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Louis, thank you for investing in our downtown. Again, we're starting to see the fruits of all the work and all the determination and hard work that we've put in on the policy side to help, revitalize this area. You're really setting the bar high, which I like. You're raising the bar for the level of the build out that people are accustomed to in Homestead. I think this is setting a new standard, and I love the fact that you're doing it in the downtown. Sometimes you travel to other places, in the county, and you start to see, wow, this place is really nice. I'd love to have this in Homestead. And looking at the renderings that you showed us tonight, it's happening here in Homestead too. And I'm a big believer in incentivizing businesses specifically to attract more jobs. And based on what you've said tonight, you're going to double your employee count, which is great. So those are people that don't no longer have to drive up anywhere else. They can stay right here in the city of Homestead. And hopefully this starts to set a trend for not only the smaller shops that we've got, but it sets the precedent for large employers to kind of do the same thing. So we want to incentivize not only the small ones, but large employers too, so that we could truly have people working in Homestead and no longer having to drive to other parts of the county to work. So I commend you. I'm glad that you're keeping it local too. You've got Ms. Crespo there from First Horizon. She is an excellent banker and just a really good person. So I'm glad that you're keeping it local. And I don't know the architect, but from what I see on these pictures, he looks to be a very professional architect. So
They've both pulled me back from the brink of, I don't think I'm going to do this because it's risky. But they both have I have a lot of, I'm just very, they fill me with confidence. Their work really has helped me kind of see this all the way through.
And that's who you want to keep yourself surrounded by, people that are going to fill you with confidence. So I'm glad to be a partner with you in this journey, and the best of luck, and want to see you open as soon as possible.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question. I have not been to your bakery, but I have to go visit. So can you just educate me a bit? What are some of the type of breads that you offer at your panaderia?
Well, for the most part, we do Mexican bread and Guatemalan bread, which is basically just, I guess if you want to translate it to, it's more of like a brioche type bread, enriched bread, which is flour, milk, butter. Very heavy bread. It's not like French bread where it's like French white bread where it's just very just water, yeast, and water and yeast. So we do a lot of those slightly sweet breads. You can see something if there's I have two boxes in the break room, but you can see like la concha. You can see pandanés, which is a layered kind of like a croissant, but type Mexican style croissant. You can see Mexican style muffins. I'm just trying to keep things kind of like so there's an equivalent, but it's mostly just large sweetbreads, if that makes sense.
What's the name of? They're like really colorful type breads. What is that called? No, not It's Mexican, but they come in like different colors. You know what
Well,
I'm talking about?
we do like colors. So I think the one that you're talking about is the concha, and that comes in pink, yellow,
Yes.
white. Sometimes we do the Mexican flag on it. Sometimes we do the American flag on it for July 4th. So that one is kind of the most typical of typical breads. Like if you go to the Mexican bakery, you always come out with at least 50% of what you're taking is conchas.
So let me ask you this, because you know I'm an educator. So with this space, will it provide like an opportunity for you to have like a class, like to host with some students or parents or community group
We've
on the different types of bread?
we've actually entertained that because I put my boy in a Montessori school. I think that's what it's called in the area. And they asked themselves, "Hey, can we do a tour of your bakery? Put little hats on the kids and
Right.
and have them show." In my current location, that would be unadvisable,
Right.
too tight. But in this newer location, I can set up a little table, have people mix bread, kind of do the whole thing, and I love that because um, I've heard a lot about people, even in the Siberium. I go over to people working there, and they're like, "Oh, there's a bakery here," and we're 15 feet away. If in the Hispanic community, I believe I'm the go-to bakery in Homestead. Everybody always goes to Michoacana for paletas, La Paseita for tacos, and if you want bread, you go to La Patrona. Thank God. I've been there for 20 years. Hope, and but outside of that, the Hispanic circles, I guess I have to do more Instagramming or have to do a better job of spreading the news.
I think that'd be a great opportunity to engage the community about the work that you do and potentially partner with the Librarium during Hispanic Heritage Month. There's a book, Everybody Bakes Bread, and in that book it talks about how bread is baked around the world. And perhaps we can have you partner with the Librarium to facilitate a lesson on Everybody Bakes Bread. It's a book. You should check it out. But I think that's a great opportunity. Thank you so much for investing in our community. The building looks beautiful,
Thank you.
and I'm going to go visit your space probably this weekend to pay you a visit. But I look forward to your next and what is to come for your business.
Just let me know because most of the time I'm overnight baking. So if you wanna hang out with me, it's gonna be early. Anything else?
I
Well,
just
thank
got
you.
one.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Again, just wanted to say thank you for your investment. I know it's a big reach. Kamisha mentioned that there were some boxes of stuff in the back. I already found those boxes of stuff, and I sampled the donut, which was really good, and something else that had a lot of sugar on it. So when you said you could now store a pallet of sugar in your business, you had me. So thank you for your investment. I look forward to the sugar, although I try to avoid it as much as possible. Somebody else walked in the room and said, "Man, I just started a diet." Well, this box is full of good stuff. So thank you for your commitment to us.
Thank you for your trust in me. Bakeries like mine, from scratch bakeries, it took 20 years to save up that money for that building. So it's kind of not something I do. It's not something I will move on lightly, and I just appreciate the consideration because maybe sometimes it's not smart just to keep your head down and bake bread. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of networking and a little bit of reach to see what's out there that can help you out in your endeavors. And I'm just not used to it, so I appreciate it.
Very good. Let me check in with board members Fletcher and Avila who are online with us and see if they would like to weigh in. Board member Fletcher?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I too am very happy for you and look forward to visiting your new space. I have been to your old space, although I'm happy for you. I'm unhappy for my waistline because I am a big fan of a lot of your products. So look forward to you expanding and maybe not so much my expansion, but best of luck to you.
Thank you. Board member Avila, are you still with us? She's not. Okay. And I think someone made the comment on the last application. This is a lot of money, and we don't take this lightly. But in going through the materials in preparation for tonight, what really sold me on it was a couple of things. That you're local. You've been here. You're not a fly-by-night person. You know your business. We've talked about how you've toiled here in this cramped space for 20 years to save up to be able to buy this building next door. You're of our community, you know our community, and you're making a real difference with the streetscape. But more importantly than that, going on with the theme of Destination Homestead, you talked about folks come here from far away, whether to come here to buy your products or to pick it up on the way to the Keys. You are part of making Homestead a destination. But not only that, as your capacity for output grows, and we're going to talk probably in the next few weeks about doing business with a distillery that will have bottles of various alcohol throughout the world where their labels read distilled and bottled in Homestead, Florida. La Patrona bread is baked in Homestead, Florida. And don't forget, we are the birthplace of wholesome bakery. Which I think, with your baking history, you should know that. So maybe we've come full circle now. That's exciting. But I did want to touch on, I had asked of the $107,000 in impact fees, what was the breakdown between county and city? Do we have that yet?
No, I don't have it. That was not included in the materials that you sent me.
The 107 was only from MDC, and I was unaware of anything. Sorry about that. I was unaware of any local impact fees or anything that was not just MDC, but I can get those informations for you.
Well, and the reason I ask is we've had prior discussions that so long as you're within that designated transit-oriented or transit-supportive-oriented business, the county has a program to either waive or reimburse, somehow cover your impact fees. And I'm all getting into their pocket while we're reaching into their pocket as well. And that's a huge chunk. So I'd like us to determine whether or not that is still available. Maybe there are funds that are going to be allocated after October 1st to District 9 for business assistance, whatever we need to do to get the most bang for our buck.
We'll definitely get together with him and see what we can find for them from the county as well.
And how would we deal with that if we're going to award the 250? How would we, make adjustment for those waiver of fees from the county, from that county fund or that county program, so that the next guy's got more money. The next guy to come along has more to draw from us. Kamitra?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We can look at it, and when we're looking at their total build-out costs, it definitely exceeds the $250,000 that we're giving. So even if we are not covering the 107 in impact fees or all of that, or just a portion of it, there are still other build-out costs that could fall under that 250. And then also, just wanted to point out that we are in the middle of August, and our fiscal year ends September 30th. And so these funds are for this fiscal year. So, if we expend them this year, that's great. We will have more money in next year's budget for the next guy that comes along.
Okay. Well, I want to, look, if there's county money there for our downtown folks or anywhere in this community, let's get into their pockets. And one final thing, and thinking here with what you do, I've often envisioned kind of a one-stop shop, and this we're not going to have that, but we have two very well-known and well-respected florists in the downtown area. We have an upscale women's clothing store in our downtown where folks come from all over the south, the 3 or 4 county region to pick out their flowers for quinceañeras, for weddings, whatever there may be. I think it would really need if we could help facilitate the cross-referencing right here in Homestead between the young ladies coming to get their bridal gowns, their quinceañera outfits, and partner with the florists and the dressmakers and the bakeries to Coral Gables, Miracle Mile, back in the day, used to be the place to go for those kinds of things, and that's not the case. If we could get that synergy going, to do some cross-marketing and help that happen, I think that would be really neat. We'll put you in the wedding cake and the quince cake businesses as well, because, we have it all here. It's just a matter of letting the rest of the world know what we have here.
I love how you talk about the quince cakes because I get plenty of quince cakes, and the most fun part about it is delivering a quince cake. 50 miles
Leave that
north.
to you.
Oh, no.
Well, just throw the thought out there. We'll let you figure out how to implement it.
Actually,
Okay, so if the,
I'm sorry.
go
No. No. Thank you for that. I also I know a lot of families who do come down here to Homestead for all of, especially culturally Mexican things, clothing, cakes, bread, supermarkets. Because in the Mexico market, you get spices that you don't get anywhere else. So I think we're there, but I would love to add more to it if possible in the future.
I see it happening more and more every day. This is a pretty significant day in our community with Miami-Dade opening and these two items in front of us. So we have let me ask if there's any public comment. Do we have any
Got one
any
more
public
comment.
comment? Yes, Mr. Vice Chair.
I'd like, as we continue to invest in this downtown and people start to, benefit from these grants that we have, we want to make sure that the city knows it's not only new businesses, it's existing businesses as well. But we want to celebrate these wins because I'm considering this a huge win for the city of Homestead, for La Patrona, and for Throwback. Huge wins. So if we could make, just bring a lot of attention to when you guys open, ribbon cutting ceremony, confetti, loud music, just let everybody know that this is happening, and hopefully it continues to attract more business. We're just getting the momentum started.
There will definitely be a mariachi.
Mariachi. Thank you.
Very good. Yes.
I just want to go back to what you were talking about, the $107,000. As soon as we can get that information and the breakdown of what the county's charging for this, this is the second time we're hearing something this abusive. In my feeling, it's abusive. With Sweet J Lanes, it was $80,000. With you, it's $107,000. The beauty of this is that you bought your property, you own your property, right? And the gentleman before you also did the same thing. And those are true investments. But when you buy that property, you're not thinking about those other expenses, and then you get shell shock.
Yeah.
And we need to try to figure out how we can, take back or tone down the shell shock from the county. I'm shocked right now. He's not even thinking about what the city's impact fees are going to be. He's worried about what the county's impact fees are going to be. We're going to have some too. We'll probably work through this with this grant here to eliminate some of that too. But this is a big problem. This is something we may not even be aware of as people are doing their due diligence in the city and to purchase properties, that they're going to the counties and then they're asking, how much is this going to cost me? Oh, no, I'm not going to invest in my money. So we need to figure out, because I know when we called or somebody called the county out on this, that all of a sudden it was like, no, that's not the case. So we need to figure out what's going on, because this is shocking to me that
For existing buildings.
For an existing building that has really no impact to anything. The water company from Miami-Dade County is going to get involved with measurements and things like that if you have to add a bathroom. And they think it's tough to do business in the city, but when you're going up against the county, $107,000 is 10% of what you basically paid for that building. That's a crazy number. So I just want to, be sure that staff, you guys understand, get us those numbers. We can start making phone calls our own and say, listen, this is not right. This is just not right. So that's all. Thank you very much,
Absolutely.
Chairman.
It's business suppression.
It is. I think
It suppresses small business.
It does.
Thank you for the sympathy because it was a little rough finding that out.
Oh,
I would rather you use the 250 to improve your business, right? It bothers me that you got to take $107,000 of city money to pay the county for impact fees.
That we see nothing.
And we get no benefit from that. So that's a big problem for me.
Yes. So one last question.
Sure.
Are your ovens and stoves gas or electric?
No,
It's a timely question.
You bring up a good point because we all seen this summer that just passed by us, and it's not particularly going to get colder anytime soon. So the original plan was to install a 1,000-gallon propane tank outside, and because I've only cooked with propane over 2 decades, I don't know how to cook any other way. But to her credit, my wife was saying, you should really look into the electric ovens. They're more modern. They're more you can talk to the city, and maybe you guys can come to an agreement about subsidizing some of that because it does pull a lot of electricity. But I see myself every single day finding it harder and harder to justify burning more propane when I could burn cleaner electricity. And it's just something that it's out of my comfort zone, but I'm gonna be looking into that as well.
As a side note, there may be natural gas lines in the ground there already.
No,
So we
no,
may
natu-
want
no
to talk
natural
to,
gas available at my location.
I'm sorry?
No natural gas available at my location.
Is it close by?
There may be. I think Julio, you may have a schematic of where the natural gas lines are in the ground that he could tap into.
Certainly, as we look to attract larger restaurants downtown and perhaps even the distillery, that's something we need to look at where it can be for the benefit of not just one, but several businesses.
And
I was kind of trying to, inject some humor here, asking you electric versus gas, but it is an important decision for you.
Oh, that was humor. Oh, sorry. It went completely over my head. It's actually something that I worry about a lot.
Right now, maybe you ought to stick with gas. Okay, so
Well,
do we have a motion to approve?
If we do decide to go with the gas lines, let's try to install fiber too while the lines are open.
Well, like Julio was saying, that's under the gas company. That would not fall under the city. But either way, we'll get those maps, and we'll go ahead and sit down with him, give him the information. That way he could talk to the gas company and see which way is better for him to go.
Thank you so much.
Very good. I mean, when we approved the project out in the Park of Commerce, that's what was sold.
That'd be great.
Let's call them to task. So, having said that, I'll get off the soapbox. And do we have a motion to approve this item?
Motion to approve.
Moved by the vice chair, seconded by all of us. What Councilwoman Bailey led the chorus. All right. I think I've asked for public input. Close the public hearing and a roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Faircloth Staggers? Yes. Board Member Bailey? Yes. Board Member Fletcher?
Yes.
Board Member Roth? Vice Chairman Guzman?
Yes.
Chairman Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Very good. Thank you. We look
you so
forward
much.
to it. All right. Ms. Driver, anything further for the CRA agenda?
Just 2 quick things. I did want to announce very excitedly that we finally closed on the old Edison building today. Yay. And then on August 26th, we will be having the Rock the Block, which will include the groundbreaking ceremony for the minority builders' homes. So that's happening on Southwest 6th Street. I'm sure it's on everyone's calendar and that everyone's going to be there to bask in the heat with us as we clean up 6th Street, make it look really nice, improve some of the properties there and the property value as we prepare to build some new homes on that street. So we're very excited about that. That's August 26th. We're still taking volunteers, so anyone that's listening that wants to come out and help, they can speak to Leslie, who's sitting behind me, and she'll be more than happy to take your information. So that's all I wanted to announce tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I got a message that it was postponed, the closing till tomorrow.
No, the photos.
Photos? Okay.
The closing occurred virtually, and so we were going to do a photo op today, and so we're rescheduling that.
Thank you, Board Member Bailey.
Thank you. And also just a big thank you to Brightview also for helping us with all of these renovations. Super exciting. I'm offering time and a half volunteer hours for anybody that comes out to help. And thank you again to you and your team. I know that there were many times walking back and forth down the streets and trying to get a hold of all of the residents cannot be easy. But I'm very excited for this, so thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Fairclough Staggers.
Yes, I have a question, Mayor. Kamitra, with the approval of these two business incentive grants, I think we have about $75,000 left.
Yes, ma'am, $75,000.
So how many applications have we received?
Completed applications, those two. Those are,
How
and
many
we have one that should be complete and ready to come before you next month, and that would exhaust the funds for this fiscal year.
So thinking a little bit more broader conceptually about the vision for the downtown, when these applications come, well, you haven't had enough to kind of vet and prioritize if you've only received 3. But what will be the process to vet these applications and determine, yes, this will be a great fit for our city and the downtown?
It's the same as we've been doing currently. So we look at several factors. We want to make sure that it fits in with the vision that has been established by this board as far as what type of industries we want in our downtown. We're looking for entertainment, restaurants, things that are going to attract folk to come here. And so that's first and foremost. And then also, we have our checklist of what we evaluate. We want to see what the owner's investment is into the area. We look at their pro formas and evaluate that. And we did the same with these two that came before you. We also we have a chance to sit down and chat with them to learn more about their business and their vision. We look at how they have already invested in the city if they're currently local. To qualify for the business incentive grant, you can either be a brand new business, I shouldn't say brand new to the city. So maybe you're relocating from another part of Miami-Dade County. Or you could be an existing business in the city, but expanding, doubling your footprint as we see with La Patrona. So we evaluate that, what are they bringing into the area? So those are some of the things that we look for in vetting the businesses.
So I know the infrastructure is there to properly vet these businesses and ensure that they are a good fit and financially sound themselves prior to us investing in them. I just wanted to make sure that you're taking into consideration the vision of this council and what we wanted to see in the downtown, particularly arts and entertainment and restaurants. But with that, I just want to make sure that there is variety and not more of the same when it's coming into when it comes to investing in them, to ensure that there is diversity and what we're offering in the downtown. So if we have La Patrona and their bakery, we may have more bakeries come. But I don't want to see more of the same. I think it should be very diverse. So just kind of keep that in mind as applications come forward, because I'm confident that more will come. But it's very important that we continue to look at this from a diversity lens as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Manager, didn't we at some point a few months ago go ahead and allocate an additional $1 million of ARPA funds?
You are absolutely correct, Mayor. Now, we've been working with legal, because there are ARPA monies, there's certain regulations, so we're trying to square that out legally, but you are absolutely correct. You all allocated an additional $1 million for business enhancements.
Yeah, been touched, so we're...
No.
Okay, very good. Just wanted to be sure I didn't miss something there.
And
All right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
to clarify for the public, that's $1 million of ARPA, which is city funds, not CRA. Okay.
I mean, basically administered by the CRA. I get that, yes. Not true CRA funds. No. If there's nothing further, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the CRA meeting. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Aye. And we'll take just a couple of minutes and convene the committee of the whole meeting in just a moment. And whoever had 6:30 in the betting pool just lost. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call the City of Homestead Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Today is August 15th, 2023, and it is now 6:45 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth. Here. Councilman Fletcher. Councilwoman Bailey. Here. Councilwoman Faircloth Staggers. Vice Mayor Guzman. Here. Mayor Losner.
Here. All right. We have before us, Mr. Manager, are there any additions, deletions, or deferrals?
No, Mayor, there are none.
All right. We have before us.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I was disconnected. I'm back on.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. All right. We have before us the minutes of the meeting from June 13th, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve? And we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Next item, tab 2, and this is a motion to place car number 4015 on the council agenda, the triangle parcel conveyance. Do you have that? Who's that? Is that you, Mr. Manager?
Yes, Mayor. Now, the next three items are the sister items to the ones you approved during the CRA. So I'll just read the recommendations if that's okay for each of them.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. For tab number 2, car 4015, staff recommends and council approve the attached resolution authorizing the conveyance of city surplus lot folio number 107813 0480150 to be used for the development of the triangle property.
All right. Go ahead. Moved by Councilman Roth. Second by the Vice Mayor. Do we need a roll call on this? On these items from the?
No, we can.
Okay. All right. All in favor? Any opposed? Tab 2, motion to place, tab 3, I'm sorry, tab 3. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Staff recommends the council approve the attached resolution authorizing the conveyance of city surplus lot folio number 107813 039 0050 to be used for the development of Homestead Live.
We have a motion. Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Councilman Roth. All in favor? Tab 4.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff recommends the council approve the attached resolution authorizing the conveyance of city parcel folio number 1079 18000239. That's the property adjacent to the city hall here.
Right. We have a motion to approve. Moved by Councilman Roth. Seconded by the Vice Mayor. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And I know Mr. Arza is online for tab 5. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. On October 21st, 2004, the City of Homestead entered into an agreement with Shores Development, Inc. for the purchase of fill at the city-owned lake site located on Southwest 344th Street. Under the terms of the agreement, Shores paid $3,179,317.95 for approximately 1,388,403 cubic yards of fill and had until December 31st, 2008 to excavate. The agreement was subsequently amended 3 times. Shores has now requested an additional amendment extending the time to which to excavate the remaining 1,009,102 cubic yards of fill until December 31st, 2030, in exchange for an extension fee of $100,000. Staff recommends and Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the City Manager to execute the extension of the city agreement with Shores Development, Inc. for the purchase of fill until December 31st, 2030, with an extension fee of $100,000.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from council? Hey, Mr. Arza, you want to enter your appearance? I think you're still on.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not sure if you guys can hear me, but appreciate it. And here to answer any questions, but appreciate the consideration. I'll see all of you next week.
Thank you. We hear you loud and clear. Is there any public comment on this item? Tab 5. None appearing? Yes, Councilman Ross.
Just a question. The extension fee, where does that get credited to? What account?
We'll probably just include it into the general fund, Councilman.
Does it have to go there, or can we earmark it for something different?
If the council desires, yes, we can earmark it for something different.
Because I know we were talking about doing the traveling art stuff and looking for monies and funds for that. Maybe we could consider doing that. I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, we could put a couple of suggestions together for council if they would like, or when we do the one-on-ones, I'll ask each of you what you're looking for, and then I'll bring it back to you all if you like.
I'd like to go that route, just to give each of us individually, give the management some input as to some pet projects, for lack of better expression.
Yeah, because if we just throw it back into the budget, it gets lost.
It's gone.
Right? This way we can purpose it for a reason.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers, second by Councilman Roth. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Next item is tab 6, the award to call to artists for interactive water art.
Thank you, Mayor. On April 4th, 2023, the mayor and council directed staff to release a call to artists soliciting a portable artistic interactive water feature. Accordingly, the open call to artists was prepared and posted on the Florida Department of State Division of Arts and Cultural Listing Services on April 10th, 2023. This was an open call for proposals from professional artists and our artist teams to deliver portable artistic water feature that could provide an outstanding visual and interactive appearance of various parks and other locations throughout Homestead. The city received one submission in response to the open call from Mr. CRA, the same artist who successfully designed, fabricated, and installed the iconic alligator and snapping turtle granite structures at Losner Park. Staff worked with Mr. Gray to refine the initial proposal and create the mangrove-themed water and light feature. Due to the changes requested from staff to increase the uniqueness of the pieces, the overall project proposal increased from the initial $100,000 to $125,000 as presented today. Staff recommends the mayor and council consider the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement in substantially the form attached with C.R. Gray for the mangrove-themed water and light feature for a price not to exceed $125,000. And I believe Mr. Gray is here to speak to his proposal.
Yeah. Very good. Mr. Gray, if you'll come to the podium, love to hear about it.
So, do I need to push the button? Or? Oh, okay, great. First of all, I enjoyed working on the project last year. It was an amazing project. It's close to home to me. I live in Key West, and for, about 10 years, I had driven and stopped in that area, and when I saw the call go out and I saw the revival of downtown, I just have to say, first of all, I salute you. And it makes me, listening to the different people that receive grants and just their excitement about your community, it makes me really want to think about where I want to live. I mean, you guys are doing a wonderful thing up here, and you're excited, and you're rebuilding the town downtown. The only thing I can't quite understand is how you got the park named after yourself so quickly, but.
I didn't. We'll just leave it at that.
So I worked with Zachary and Dennis, and I came up with a couple designs, and then I came up and we talked about a couple other designs. And so what you see up there is you're getting 2 sculptures. Originally we thought 1, but they wanted the possibility of moving them around from park to park. And so these sculptures are like the mangrove trees you see around the Everglades. They have a solid base, and then the roots will go out down to the ground. They're made out of steel with steel leaves and so forth. They're going to be about 11 to 12 feet tall. They can be moved they'll have stake pockets underneath them so that your city crew can pick them up and move them out of the way, and they can be temporarily bolted down to the concrete in the park. They'll have lights, and they'll use misters like you see at restaurants. The other thing that a requirement was not to have pooling water. So these will have, each tree will have almost 20 misters that shoot out, and everything in this electronic age will be able to be controlled from an iPhone. So we'll be able to give a code to someone, they'll be able to control the lights as well as the misting. And it's basically, I've tried to make it as simple as possible, so it's a plug-in system. They're gonna plug in the electricity in a lockbox, so they're gonna hook up the hose, pull up their phone and pull up the app, and hopefully no one gives out the code, and be able to program it in. Also, as far as maintenance, I will give you at least 2 to 3 years. I'm located in the Keys, so I can come up. And within the small maintenance area underneath, there'll be an additional pump and lighting transformer on top of the 2 ones that are included. So if the system goes down, we won't have to wait for parts. If these are commercial systems, so they're going to last a long time. But just in case, you know, we get into the summer season and the system goes down, it's basically just a quick disconnect like that you see at the auto shops type of thing, where it plugs back in, you plug it in, you reprime the system, and you're back up and going. And seeing how hot this year has been, I would say that the nice thing about this particular misting system is foreseeable. I mean, you could start running it, at the end of February and go all the way until Thanksgiving. I mean, we have 80-degree weather here pretty much, 8 months out of the year? So that's basically it in a nutshell. The coating on these, I do sandblasting, it was the same method I put in the tracks that are out in the park. So these are all going to be sandblasted steel before I paint them. And the coating, I'm not going to use a powder coating. I'm going to use a material that's closer to like a truck bed liner. It comes in multiple colors. It's a little coarse. And that way it'll deter climbing on it, but as well be very durable. Much more durable, because as much as they say powder coating's great, we've all been seeing the powder coated bike racks where it's already peeling. So this material will adhere after it's primed much better. And I mean, everybody has a pickup these days. They know how well that kind of thing stands up. So I don't know if you have any questions for me.
No, I want to ask staff, though, have we identified locations, let's say, and I think, you know, the original discussion was somewhere in Losner Park, where there's a water source available, it's not a water hose running across the ground, that is an appropriate location for one or both of these sculptures?
Yes, there are several locations in the park that could be appropriate, where there's a hose bib and a power access right there. One possible option is in a lawn area near the front, closer to the Seminole Theater. There's also availability in the large lawn area in front of the stage. We could also, experiment, move them around a bit throughout the season, or move them around for events, in order to get the most appropriate location.
Very good, thank you. So we're talking about 2 sculptures for $125,000 in total.
Correct.
Okay. Council? Yes, Councilwoman Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say, since I'm the council person that lives closest, I should have that code. Just in case, I'm a minute away. No, very exciting, and that was going to be one of my questions. So they are both able to be moved?
Yes. They both will have the stake pockets underneath them, so that it'll take a heavy-duty bobcat or something like that to pick them up. But that was another thing that was key, because there are other parks, and I know you're doing different revivals in different areas. So the whole point of these was to be able to move maybe one to another park in a future location or something.
Right.
So.
And we have one of those bobcats?
Yes, ma'am.
We do? Okay. So, I like the idea of the open field, but then again, if we're going to have an event, that we can move it out because that's nice for seating. And then the last question was just about the pumps and the type of machinery that is in there, that we have a list of where those parts can be found, just in case anything happens.
Yes.
Because I see this being a very popular place to be hanging out. Thank you. Thank you.
As one side note, Zach and I also have worked out the attachment of the plaque and the stone veneer, and I brought it with me. So if that helps prime the pump, I'm going to put that on tomorrow and the next day. So it's going to tie everything up in a bow. You're going to have a new sign and bronze plaque by Thursday morning.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And on a related note, I want to thank whoever got the clock running for the first time in a long time. The last time I was by there, it did tell the accurate time. We may want to rethink the landscaping underneath it that's overtaking the post.
We could definitely take a look at it, Mayor.
Yeah. All right, so do we have a motion to approve? Yes, Councilwoman, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just have a question. Well, is this the final rendering? I'm trying to get an idea. Where do you go? Oh, like, I'm talking to Matt, like, wait, what happened?
It's like one of your students. They just disappear.
Yes.
Sorry.
Well, that happens. So is this the final sketch or rendering? I'm trying to get a feel for the color, how it would actually look.
Yeah, there'll be a center tree trunk, and this is a sculpture in the round. So if you can visualize, there's the green section you see in the middle there is actually a circular area that's made of steel, that's coated, that all the mechanical parts go and so forth. I did some sketching, and when I worked with Dennis and Zach, they wanted to actually have the roots come down so that kids could, use it as a play thing. So the two sketches that I gave you are actually the exact same tree, just one's flipped as a reflection of the other. But they're, once I start to fabricate it, I'm going to pull some of the roots in so that they're closer to the base, but so kids can still climb underneath them. And that's when it comes down to where I'm close by. Zach and Dennis will probably come down from your office and look at them, and I can heat up and bend the roots so that it doesn't become a safety factor. But there'll be multiple roots all the way around, plus all the leaves. And then we have to talk about, everybody's seen the mangrove trees, about the sections that hang down and how to make that work too. Because the big thing we have to think about is hurricanes, and we've all been through them. And whether this needs to be built to stay out or whether it's part of your checklist to take in. And I can make it so that we can bolt it down with heavy-duty fasteners and it stays out. Or you can say it's too much of a hazard, we want to bring it in. Does that help you at all?
Yes, it does. I was trying to get a clearer picture for me visually of how it would actually look, but I was also trying to determine, okay, so where's the interactive component comes in, because that was one of my asks, that it was interactive and it have some type of water feature, because our goal was for the summer. But I know that our time frame, we were very limited and didn't receive a lot of responses. So the misty water feature is there, which is great, particularly because of the heat index outside.
Right. I have 4 kids, so I know all about that. They've been home for summer vacation, so it's no fun. The tough thing, and we had kind of opposing kind of ideas, is interaction but no pooling water. And so, a lot of the fun, and I know originally the park had a water feature in it, and I know the design firm, and they came up with, a Cadillac dream, but we had a Volkswagen budget. So it's one of those things where I had to come up with something that many kids could play on or play around and duck around, and hence the misting effect, and so that most of the time in our weather, misting won't pool. Now, It may take some adjustment, and then the interactive part is working with Zach and Dennis so that we can make it so that it'll be compatible with playgrounds, having the branches come down so kids can climb and things like that, but not climb up, just swing on and go underneath. Because when I brought my family up there, my wife looked at your playground and said, so they put a bunch of rocks and they're asking children to play there. And I was like, yeah, but the the kids love it. I mean, I've seen tons of kids there, and I haven't heard anybody complain yet online about chipping teeth or anything. So that's where the component comes in with working with your city staff to develop a little bit more. I have a couple chipped teeth from a kid, but you know, it's one of those things you do. So I'm going to continue to work with them to refine once we move forward more to make it so that it's playable but not climbable.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. That was very helpful for me. I'm not sure this is something that should be moved, though. I don't see why we will move it throughout the city, although we had that conversation about something that can be moved throughout the city. I'm just not sure that this is the piece to be able to do that, or why we will move it
I
around
mean,
the city.
that was the initial intention, but to your point, we might like it so much, and especially since Losner Park is Everglades themed, that we eventually just leave it there if it, becomes a major staple there at the park. Or, hopefully 2 or 3 years from now when the sports complex opens, I know we're going to have that large lake nearby, maybe we can have a special event or things of that nature and move the pieces if we want to. But we don't have to move them if we don't want to.
Okay.
I think the other thing too, and I was there, I went to that park many times while it was under construction, and I loved the half shell, and I loved the concert concepts and all that kind of stuff. And I think in my thoughts were when we were meeting and kind of throwing around ideas was the fact that if you have concerts or movies in the park, it might take a while to figure out the movement of people and where they like to be. And this way, it's not like, oh man, we set that in concrete there, and everybody likes to be over there by that tree, or the kids like to go over there and cool off, and they're noisy when we have a concert, so we want to have that a little bit away. It gives the flexibility that you don't have to keep calling me and going, all right, we got to pick it up, we got to move it 25 feet. No, you just undo the 4 bolts, you go in with your Bobcat, you move it, you plug it back in again. And that way it gives you the flexibility that you're not dependent on me. You can make it movable in there. So that's another possibility.
What I think needs to happen is perhaps if we can have like a schematic of where it could possibly be so that we have a visual, just to make sure it makes sense. I don't think the open lawn area, it doesn't make sense to me. So I think perhaps we should be provided some options on what it will look like, if it's in this location or that location. And I think that'll help us determine the best area for it.
We can definitely do that, and I think as we go through the development process with Mr. Gray, we'll shoot some photographs of it to you all, so to get your input as well as it gets built.
And then finally, this wasn't my original vision for the interactive water feature, but I think it's okay. I think it'll work in our downtown. But what I would still like to see, and I've been communicating with Pedro on some of the concepts of what I originally envisioned, and when you said that $100,000 suggestion of what we can do with it, I think some of those very colorful, seasonal art interaction installations that's been popping up around municipalities in Miami-Dade, I think we should potentially consider that, 1. And then 2, I think I wouldn't want to invest any more into the park without some shade. And we've had that conversation about shade structure, and I know you're working on that, but we really need to prioritize shade structures in that park because it's brutal. And you can't even enjoy it because it's so hot.
And like I mentioned, we've already reached out to Shade USA, if I'm not mistaken, to get those quotes. And once we get that information, we'll definitely bring it to council.
Okay, because I had a parks tour with Pedro, about 2 weeks ago. We toured all the parks, and we're at Losner Park. I'm like, Pedro, it's too hot out here. You can't enjoy anything because there's no shade structure. The trees, they haven't matured. It's nothing. So we really need to prioritize shade structures. And thank you so much for moving on that. And then once the quotes come back, then we can have a conversation on how we move forward with shade structures in the park. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, a shade structure 3 times fast. But on shade structures, for the opening this morning at the Miami-Dade College, there was some really interesting ways that they provided some shade, and that might be a really neat way for us to switch things up depending on seasons or themes. It was just
It's portable.
It's portable. but these metal legs, scaffolding looking things, with unique little cutouts like the shade sails. So something colorful that shows light, something that could be switched out with the umbrellas or whatever other ideas we think of. Maybe having those pillars as the structure and being able to switch out the rest. I just wanted to add that to look into as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we were impressed ourselves. We were talking about it after, and I was hoping that they would leave that permanently because the entrance looked amazing walking into the building. So definitely we'll take a look into that as well.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, do we have a motion to approve this item? Moved by Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers, seconded by Councilwoman Bailey. Any public input? Make sure we get that on the record. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, next item is tab 7.
Thank you, Mayor. On July 27th, 2023, Vice Mayor Guzman submitted a letter of resignation from the Northwest District 1 Council seat. As a result of his resignation, a vacancy exists at the City Council pursuant to Section 2.05 of the Charter of the City of Homestead. If 1 year or more remains in an unexpired term of a vacant seat, the vacancy shall be filled by a special election to be held not sooner than 45 days or more than 75 days following the occurrence of the vacancy, unless there is a city, county, state, or national election scheduled to take place within 120 days, in which case the vacancy shall be filled by a special election on the first such election date. The city's general election is scheduled for November 7th, 2023, and the special election will be piggyback on this election. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city clerk to schedule a special election to fill the office of Council Seat Northwest District Number 1 and setting November 7th, 2023 as the date of such election and establishing August 28th, 2023 at 8:30 a.m. through September 1st, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. as the time of qualifying for said election.
Thank you. I think it's pretty straightforward. This is just administrative to
I'll defer
provide
to
that
Matt.
to the supervisor of elections.
Correct. This is what the supervisor is going to require in order to hold the special election.
Sure. Any public comment? Any questions or comments from council? All right, do we have a motion to approve? Moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilwoman Bailey. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, next is tab 8, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The Homestead Police Department applied for and received a grant from the State of Florida Department of Children's and Family in the amount of $313,600 for a 2-year period. The funds will support 1 full-time detective, 1 Miami-Dade County Safe Space Victim Advocate, and 1 SOS Victim Advocate. The team will work collaboratively to address the needs of domestic violence, dating violence, and sexual assault victims while holding the offender accountable. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement and establish a budget for a grant award of $313,600 from the Florida Department of Children's and Family for domestic violence investigations and victim advocacy. This grant requires a match of $41,678.44 annually, which is met through the use of 2 domestic violence detective wages. And Sandy's here to answer if there's any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any questions or comments from council? Okay, so my question would be that this is going to fund 86% of the base salary of an existing detective. This is not going to be the hiring of a new detective or the addition of.
It's funding the existing detective. Right. No new hiring of a new, right. We're not hiring a new detective. It's funding 86% of their salary.
Which frees up whatever that 86% equates to.
Isn't this usually for overtime, Sandy?
Issues.
No, not in this case. Okay. So yes, it'll free up some monies. Yes.
And new SOS staff or existing staff?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This would be a new position in SOS. We're already pretty full with all our positions filled, so it would be a new position.
Just want to clarify that. Okay. All right. Any further questions or comments from council? Any questions or comments from the public? I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers. All in favor? Any opposed? Tab 9.
Thank you, Mayor. On March 11th, 2021, the American Rescue Plan Act was signed into law establishing the Coronavirus Fiscal Recovery Funds. On May 10th, 2021, the interim final rule was issued, which established a framework for determining the types of programs and services eligible under ARPA. On November 19th, 2021, Mayor and Council discussed potential allocation of ARPA funding. One eligible category is infrastructure investment. The septic to sewer conversion project will target approximately 125 homes in the northwest section of the city. The scope consists of design, engineering, and construction of new gravity mains, new lateral connections to the edge of the right-of-way, pump station improvements, development, and road restorations. This project will result in enhanced environmental protection of potable water well fields. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council authorize the city manager to enter into negotiations with the top-ranked firm Hazen and Sawyer for the award of RFQ 2023-16. If the top-ranked firm is unable to meet the city's needs and requirements, negotiations will then proceed with the second-ranked firm, Chen Moore Associates, and then the third-ranked firm, Nova Consulting, Inc., in accordance with Florida State Statute 287.0555B. Upon successful negotiations, the manager will bring the agreement back to council for approval.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from council? Okay, none. Refresh my memory, it's been quite some time. What area of the Northwest?
Mayor and Council. So there's only a couple of pockets left in the city that are still being serviced by septic tanks. One of them is in the northwest area, which is the one that's the most prolific, I guess you could say. They're the closest to each other, so it makes more economic sense to do that area. It is basically, it doesn't go all the way up to the edge of the city. What I can do, I can send all of you the map that shows exactly the area that we're talking about. And it's 125 homes. That amounts to about $2.5 million in terms of construction, expenses. And it is going to be west of Chrome, and like north of, I'm just going off the top of my head, about 15th Avenue or so. 15th Street or so north. So there's a pocket there that has no sewer lines at this time.
And Mayor, we'll go ahead and send everybody a copy of the map tomorrow, and so you all can take a look at it.
We'll send you the map, and it shows all the areas. And there's another small section of the city, which is more in the center of the city, again, towards the north, that has a couple of homes there as well. So if we have some money left over, we can then hit that area as well. But the idea is to hit all the area, all the homes that are close together in terms of septic tank conversions.
Okay, and would the existence of those lines trigger either a requirement for the homeowners to hook into them or pay the fee?
Yes.
Until they do?
So yes, so Durham has a requirement that once the line is existing and is operational, the homeowners have 90 days to tie into that line. And that cost is not included in this $2.5 million. That is for the homeowners themselves they would have to decommission their septic tank and then make the connection to the property line. Our lines would go right up to the property line, and from that point forward into the private property, it would have to be the cost to the homeowner.
Right, and I understand recently in the county's infinite wisdom, they've upped the regulations and thus the cost of decommissioning septic tanks.
Yes, you are correct. Yes, that is true. That is true.
I struggle with moving this forward without knowing what we're going to show up with, and look, based on today's cost to those homeowners. And I'm one of those that would be included in that. You're required to spend whatever it is, $2,000, $5,000, $8,000 to hook into a sewer system that we just decided to construct.
Mayor, and talking to Julio here, we could definitely take a look at the route to see who that would impact, and at least maybe give you all some comfort that if the route it's taking is not going to impact too many folks in being forced to hook up that.
Well, it's going to
At
impact
least
125
begin-
homes.
Yeah, we know
It's gonna impact
125 homes,
125
but
homes.
at least begin laying the groundwork that, 3 years in the future or whatever it may be, you need to get ready, or whoever's buying your home needs to understand that at some point there's going to be a requirement to hook in, which is not inexpensive anymore.
Yeah, we could definitely do a notification
I'd
campaign.
like to.
Okay,
to have
absolutely.
that.
Just to continue that conversation, do we know what it's going to cost each individual homeowner to hook up to our system?
That's what we're talking about.
Well, on average, decommissioning of a sewer, septic tank and connecting to a sewer line, I would say, just past history, just off the top of my head, is around $10,000, I would say, around 10 to 15.
So,
depending on.
I get that part. Okay, so that's a lot of money for somebody. Now, I think I've heard in the past that other municipalities that had to make those conversions assessed versus making them pay for the whole septic tank at one time through their taxes. So instead of the burden being a $15,000 hit to a homeowner, the city would absorb and take that money over a period of time to lighten the blow to the homeowners. And there's a couple ways to think about this too, right? So if we can establish a homeowner who's actually living in the property that has to incur that expense versus a landlord who is not living in the expenses and is making money off of that rental property, it could be two separate programs. But, if you were to come to me today and say, we're going to be installing this line and you have to hook up to it and it's going to cost you $15,000, I'm not going to have a very good taste in my mouth for that. And I think if we can figure out a way to soften the blow, then we need to do that as good stewards of the city. It's 125 people that may or may not be able to afford even to do that. So that's something to consider as we bring this process to a head.
And it's our understanding there's grants as well to help residents with this conversion, so we could definitely look into that as well.
There is right now, we're waiting on response on a grant application for $1.5 million, which that's one of the eligible expenses that we could use that for. So that's something that we could look at as well.
As long as we're thinking that way. I mean, just because we put the line in place, and I think you said once we do that, it's mandatory that they get it done within 90 days. And that's a very critical thing to know, right? Once we start and once we finish, who are we going to have to help to bring them into compliance?
Yeah, and we need to keep in mind also that the county is moving towards the direction of no septic tanks. So this is something that's going to happen probably regardless. Right now we have the money to spend for it. We have that grant available, and I'm just seeing in the future they're going to demand that it be done through Durham. So they'll request that at some point.
And Councilman, like I mentioned in the agenda item, this is coming back to council. Remember, we're just asking for permission to negotiate, and what we'll do is include a complete package to see how we're going to help those residents go ahead and offset that $10,000 cost. So you'll have the whole thing in front of you. At least you'll know how we'll be able to help them out as well.
Do you have an estimate, aside from the 125 that this would cover, how many existing septic tanks are in the ground in the city?
After this, not much more. I would say probably around another, less than 100, I would say. So this will cover more than half of what we have left. in the city in terms of septic tanks.
That's surprisingly low.
It is.
It is. You know, we're pretty well covered. There's only 2 isolated pockets, basically, that have septic tanks.
And I guess we need to look at also how's that going to impact the pump station that's on Second Avenue. And Councilman Fairclough Staggers? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, moving on to tab 10.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff recommends Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing city manager to enter into an agreement with Be Free LLC DBA Freebie to provide 100% electric on-demand transportation services within the city of Homestead for $340,152.66. Freebie is a 100% electric on-demand door-to-door transportation services. 3 Tesla Model 10 vehicles which service riders 7 days a week at no cost for traveling within the city limits of Homestead as outlined in the proposed service area map. This mode of transportation will allow for greater attendance to businesses and points of interest while reducing traffic and the carbon emission. This is a turnkey operation inclusive of charging stations, trained drivers, vehicle maintenance, and insurance. This agreement is in accordance with the City of Sunrise, Florida RFP 200405 and subject to county approval interlocal agreement with Miami-Dade County Department of Transportation and Public Works.
Thank you. I just say I know that I believe in Cutler Bay, Palmetto Bay, and Pinecrest, these systems have been very successful. They skipped the trolley that we have and went right to the freebie, and I just think of it as municipal Uber. As long as you're going within the city, you can do the on-demand if it works for you.
Staff is very excited about bringing this online.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you so much. I am extremely excited about this. I believe we began these conversations months, maybe a year ago.
Years, I think.
It's been years. We've been having these conversations about freebie, and I didn't let up. So I'm super excited that this is happening. I see it very successfully implemented in Coral Gables, Key Biscayne, Alamorada, North Miami Beach, and in Florida City. Florida City has 2 cars. So now the city of Homestead is coming into the fold, and I'm excited that we're bringing Teslas to the community, a very high-end alternative mode of transportation to our residents to help get them to the businesses, to help ensure that they are successful. So super excited that freebie is happening, and then I would be more interested in hearing about the timeline of implementation as that information becomes available.
Yes, absolutely. We'll keep council updated as these steps move forward. There'll be a ramp up of implementation time with freebie as they get their infrastructure working in our city and subject to the ILA approval with the county.
Any public comment on this item? I will close the public hearing. Anything further from council? All right, do we have a motion to approve?
And I have just a couple
Yes.
questions. So I'm looking at the hour of operations for Monday through Friday, and it seems to be in the height of commuter traffic and stuff, right? So it's only from 6:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Monday through Friday, and then 2:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. And I guess my question is, they're going to be coming from the east side of the city to the west side? Is that like an automatic thing?
Yes, if you, in order to incentivize people to come to the downtown for, their businesses and to, take advantage of the amenities as well as to access the transit hubs here in the greater downtown area, we've selected that as the service area. So if your ride starts or ends in this greater downtown area, you can use the service. Your ride is free, and the hours of operations we're considering are to align with those commuter transit hours as well during the week, and of course the weekends, the longer hours for people who are coming downtown for restaurants, entertainment, all of those uses.
How does the consumer subscribe to the service?
So this was app-based. There's a freebie app. You would download it, and just by your geolocation, once you open your account, it'll know that you're accessing the Homestead freebie.
So how do they know if you're coming from the east side and you're going specifically to the west side? And what if your appointment is beyond 9:30 and you need to get back to your place where you came from?
That's a very good point. We can definitely work on these hours with freebie. We were considering the weekday hours as more for commuter use. So, essentially by 9:30 you would be heading in, to your job if you're commuting. But we can definitely work with freebie on these hours, and we have the discretion to change these as time goes on.
And let's say somebody wanted to come from the east side to have lunch during the week. They couldn't do that with freebie.
Not under the current service agreement. Again, this is kind of our first step. If we see that there's a huge demand for those service hours, we can definitely make those changes. What we didn't want to do was, make this a 24/7 service, spend millions of dollars, and then see that we've, poured this money, where it wasn't needed.
So we will be able to get updates monthly on ridership? So we could track this?
Yes, we could do that.
Yeah, because it'd be interesting to see what the flow is of people and commuters that are using it, where they're coming from, where they're going to, and how long they're staying in those specific locations. Because the way I was told, it was really to take people from the east side and bring them to the downtown area. So as the downtown expands, there's going to be more for that. But it'd be interesting to see if the $350,000 that we're spending on this program, the ridership is there as well. So, just curious.
Absolutely, Councilman. And what we got to keep in mind, this is really a pilot program, right? We're trying it out for the first time here. But with that being said, we're actually applying for grants to help fund the expansion of this program. If we see it becomes very popular, is being used a lot, once again, we've applied for grants, those monies come in, we could probably expand to 5 vehicles here in the city. So once again, it's a pilot program, and the data is going to direct us whether, we expand or pull back on this service.
Just one last question. When's it expected to start, the program?
We don't yet have a projected start date. We first have to get the Miami-Dade County approval, and then in our conversations with freebie, they can, as long as we are positioned correctly in their pipeline, we could be, getting started within 3 months.
Thank you, Mayor.
Do we know, let's say, and I agree with Councilman Roth, we need to closely track this. And I've advocated for a long time that I'd like to see us audit and adjust our trolley routes, but that's another conversation for another day. That what would be our pull the plug provision, 60-day termination, that if we see that if these routes are just not working and there's no reason to spend the money to have these cars on call, because I'm sitting here thinking, why wouldn't we have broader hours to be able to go to the hospital from any point in the city?
So,
Just for example.
Matt's telling us if we give him 7-day notice, and we could terminate the agreement.
Okay, I can live with that. I think we probably need to tweak our hours and our areas of service. I think conceptually, I'm ready to go forward with that. And this is paid for out of the transit tax. This is not
the PTP
general
funds.
fund. This is not local tax revenue. This is out of the countywide transportation
You're
tax
absolutely correct.
allocation to the city.
You're absolutely correct, Mayor. Once again, it's a pilot program. I mean, it's either working for us or not. That'll determine.
The Councilwoman, I'm sorry.
Just to add, and I've had multiple conversations with representatives from Freebie, it's very important to note that we're starting with 3 cars, and the population in our city it's very important that we start smart, because freebie doesn't want to be bombarded with calls for service and they just can't keep up with the demand. So I think the operating hours that we have is great for a start, and then we analyze the data to determine how we adjust. They're doing phenomenal in other cities. So we just have to make sure we position ourselves to be successful, because they may not be calling freebie. They're going to be calling us, and they're going to be putting information on social media that the freebie failed in Homestead. So we have to be very careful on how we launch this program to ensure we're positioning ourselves to be successful. So I agree with the hours as presented, with the opportunity to adjust based on the data.
Yes, Councilwoman Bailey?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add, this isn't the first time that they've started in a city and not known what's happening. So I'm sure that they have ways for riders also to say what the popular times would be. So just speak to them, and then maybe you can get back to us and let us know how that works. Once somebody logs into the app, if that time isn't available, is there an option for them to send a message? I think that would be really important. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers, second by Councilman Roth. All in favor? All right, any opposed? Next, tab 11, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. In 1993, the Board of County Commissioners of Miami-Dade County levied a 6-cent local option gas tax on every gallon of motor fuel and diesel fuel sold in Miami-Dade County. In 1997, Miami-Dade County extended the imposition of the 1993 local option gas tax that began on September 1st, 1993 for a maximum period of 30 years through ordinance number 97-156. The city of Homestead has historically received a share of the 6 cents local option gas tax revenue collected by Miami-Dade County for roadway and public transportation expenditures. Miami-Dade County gas tax ordinance is set to expire on August 31st, 2023. In order to meet the statutory requirements established by the county gas tax, and the city and the county must enter into an interlocal agreement with the majority of the population residing within the incorporated area of the county prior to the expiration of the ordinance. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to execute and amend the reinstated interlocal agreement with Miami-Dade County for a 30-year period from January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2053. The agreement establishes the distribution methodology for the 6-cent local option gas tax currently being used to distribute local option fuel tax proceeds from Miami-Dade County to the city.
Thank you. Council, questions, comments?
I just have one.
What's that?
If it expires August 31st, why are we waiting until January 1st to reestablish? We're going to lose 4 months of revenue.
County had a hiccup in what they needed to do, and they are
Yes,
going to hold municipalities harmless against the loss for that period of time.
Yeah, the county dropped the ball on its end, and I'll leave it at that.
Somebody got sent home without pay. All joking aside, at the county level. In a meeting of mayors, I guess last week, the county mayor announced that they're going to allocate some of their remaining ARPA funds to ensure that municipalities are still funded to the extent that they typically have been, notwithstanding that the tax is not being collected. All right. Is there anyone from the public? All right, do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by the Vice Mayor. All in favor? Any opposed? Tab 12, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The City of Homestead Water Treatment Division must follow all federal, state, and local regulations for the operation of the facility, which includes the use of elemental chlorine. Historically, procurement publishes an invitation to bid for this chemical, to which only one vendor, Allied Universal Corporation, has historically responded. This, coupled with the fact that Allied is the only vendor who can supply this chemical with a short lead time of less than 5 days, this award is going to be considered a sole source. Staff recommends that mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing city manager to enter into an agreement with Allied Universal Corporation for the purchase of elemental chlorine for the Public Works and Engineering Department on an as-needed basis and within the established departmental budget.
Thank you, sir. Council, any questions, comments? Anything from the public? Okay, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve. Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by the Vice Mayor. All in favor? Any opposed? Moving right along. Tab 13. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Redland Substation supports the electrical demand on the west side of the City of Homestead's electrical network. Concurrently, Redland Substation has a 34 MVW transformer supporting the electrical load. In order to support the forecasted continued growth of the western section of the city, additional infrastructure is needed to accommodate the increased electrical demand associated with that growth. HBS Energy plans to expand the Redlands substation to include a second transformer along with the additional main circuit breakers to have capacity for the load increase. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Burns & McDonnell in accordance with the CCNA in the amount of $285,928. The agreement will provide engineering services for foundation design, structural engineering, substation physical design, control design, and relay settings for the site expansion of the Homestead Public Works Public Services Energy Redland Substation.
Thank you. Council, questions, comments? All right. Do we have any questions or comments from the public? All right, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve. Moved by Councilman Fairclough Staggers, seconded by the Vice Mayor. All in favor? Any opposed? And finally, tab 14, Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. On August 17th, 2022, City Council requested that HBS Energy select a vendor to perform a feasibility study for the city adding a 25 megawatt solar farm to its energy portfolio. HBS Energy, working in conjunction with the Florida Municipal Power Agency and their master service agreements available to FMPA members, selected Burns & McDonnell's engineering subsidiary to perform the study. Based on their engineering and rate-making expertise, Burns & McDonnell's, working with the city staff, performed a high-level Phase 1 study to determine the feasibility of the project. The Phase 1 study indicates the potential viability to add 12 megawatts of constructed solar power between two viable sites, with transmission not seen as a limiting factor. The Phase 2 study will provide a more detailed analysis to evaluate the feasibility of the project, such as location, sizing, cost and benefits of various project configurations, and interconnection options for potential solar plus storage facilities over a 20-year study horizon. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council consider the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a work authorization with Burns & McDonnell's engineering subsidiary, 1898 and Company, to perform the second phase of the solar feasibility study for $43,500, bringing the total amount of Phase 1 and Phase 2 studies to $92,500. And I believe we have a representative from Burns & McDonnell's here to do a presentation.
Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. So I'm Bailey Connors. I'm a power markets consultant from 1898 and was part of this Phase 1 study. So just going to talk you through it. I'm going to run through the first couple slides and just point out some of our critical assumptions, but please feel free to stop me as we run through and if you have any questions or comments. So this just kind of lays out exactly what we did from the data request all the way through the summary and findings. The main steps here were to look at your load and your balancing authority to determine what size of solar facility your load and system could handle, as well as a desktop review of siting, any potential sites that could be looked into further going forward, and any concerns with the interconnection. So going into kind of the data request and assumptions, This just kind of talks us through the process, gives you some examples of what we asked for throughout this project. But some of the main base considerations, we assumed we were looking at the 2026 year with a solar facility coming online January 1st of 2026, and we used a planning reserve margin of 20%, which is reflective of the current planning reserve margin, which sits a little above 20%. Moving into the resource portfolio, so we worked with Homestead to make sure we understood what resources you have on system, what resources you must take in any given hour as compared to what's dispatchable, what contracts you have, things of that nature. We used the FMPA load forecast that they put out. We did scale this up to reflect historic values as compared to this load forecast, but you can see we used that 2026 year with a peak demand of approximately 123 megawatts and just over 639,000 megawatt hours. Some siting assumptions, we did go ahead and we just used the base kind of industry standard assumptions for any setbacks or other boundaries associated with siting a solar facility. You can see some of the slope considerations when we're looking at different plots. We want favorable sites are between 0 and 10%, and we do assume that approximately 6 acres per megawatt are needed when building this solar facility. And then this just shows you a high-level overview of the transmission that was provided to us by Homestead. So going into the evaluation here, first looking at the load and kind of your BA as a total. The goal here, again, was to understand what the current need is in Homestead and what could be handled by the system and existing portfolio. So this is a big slide full of lots of assumptions. Major assumptions here are the accreditation. So we use the effective load carrying capability, ELCC, to determine how much solar we could count on throughout this evaluation for planning purposes, industry standard value that we use there. Again, as I mentioned on the last slide, we did scale that FMPA forecasted peak and energy up to reflect the approximately 10 megawatts we see from historic values as compared to that forecast. And I think those are kind of the major points here. This again just shows you the 2026 layout of demand, must-take generation, and the rest of the portfolio. We'll get to contracts here in a minute. As you can see, we are at the monthly level here, so we did go ahead and use historic demand values to determine exactly, or approximate, I should say, how much generation we would expect in each given month to come up with that monthly profile. Jumping into the contract constraints. So one of the interesting things about the Homestead portfolio is there are a number of contracts that help serve energy. They do have some operational constraints, though, that we needed to consider, so they can only be changed, I believe it was 3 times in a 24-hour period, even though they're scheduled on a day-ahead basis. So we wanted to make sure that we had something worked into the evaluation that reflected the limited flexibility within these contracts. So we assumed that 25% and 50% of these contracts, we used 2 cases here, were must-take generation. So we assumed that that would be taken in and used to supply load throughout this evaluation. So after we've got all of this pulled together, we look at the demand as compared to the total generation that we would expect in any given month, to come up with this table that shows us the minimum need associated with the portfolio in any given month, the maximum need, and the average need under both the scenarios with the contract assumptions. So again, that 25% must take and the 50% must take. So based on that, we are able to calculate, using our ELCC value, the amount of accredited capacity associated with a solar facility that would be needed to serve that deficit. From there, we're able to go ahead and calculate the nameplate solar, so essentially scale that up so that the solar facility is producing, or theoretically producing, at that desired accredited capacity. So you can see we've got a range of numbers here that top 50% must take contracted generation coming in, between 0 and 13 megawatts. In all cases, we had limited excess energy that was being produced throughout any given month. So these next few slides are going to just visualize for you. This first slide here is showing the energy outlook. So it shows you essentially based on your peak, how much excess energy we would see in any given case here for any of these solar sizes from 0 to 13 megawatts. So nothing too outstanding there. Same look, but for the 25% must-take assumptions. So looking at solar facilities of 4 megawatts up to 74 megawatts. Because solar is an energy, generally considered an energy product, those are the most important graphs, I would say, but we also need to consider that there is a little bit of capacity that comes with a solar facility, so we want to make sure that we're not exceeding the capacity limits as well with the system. So this looks at your peak load as compared to your expected capacity in 2026 under the various assumptions. Again, same sizes of solar facilities. This is the 50% must-take contract assumption, so again, not sitting too much over that peak demand, and the 25 must-take contract assumption. So just some general observations. This analysis, one thing I will caveat with is it's heavily reliant on the current contracting sizes and contracting assumptions. So with that said, we talked a little bit about flexibility. Flexibility is something that we need to consider when we're looking at a solar facility because we do need the flexibility to ramp up generation if the solar is not producing when we need it to serve that load. So from a feasibility perspective, the next step would be to look at this from an economic perspective and really understand if it's economically feasible. And that's where your contract costs would come into play, and that we'd need to understand if that is economic to offset that generation. Moving into the desktop siting review. So we used publicly available data to kind of look at different parcels throughout the Homestead area. I believe it was a 5-mile radius from city center, if I'm not mistaken, that we reviewed for this portion of the evaluation. So you can see here that most of the parcels that were identified with 20 usable acres fell within a floodplain. So that's the comment or the column to the far right. The column in the middle is the parcels with at least 20 usable acres that do not fall in a floodplain. So that's important to know. You can build in a floodplain, but there are definitely economic considerations, insurance considerations, because you need the ability to build a safe, reliable solar facility. This is just kind of showing you the overall area. Any red that's up there is the floodplain regions, and then the blue outlines show you the parcels that were identified throughout this study. These next two slides are going to just show you some examples of the parcels. So this first parcel sits about 2.7 miles away from the nearest substation. We're looking at Homestead specific substations as opposed to any other neighboring system. And this site would accommodate, based on this high-level desktop overview without the more detailed permitting and additional studies that you'd need to do to move forward with it. But based on our high-level overview, accommodate about a 10.8 megawatt facility. And then I believe this particular slide was mentioned in the overview. This site would, based on our evaluation, again at that high level, accommodate that 12.7 megawatt facility, and nearest substation is a little over a mile away. Moving into the interconnection and power flow analysis. So big thing with our study here is we found that there were no limiting constraints from this high-level desktop overview that we've done that were concerning that popped up. Again, as project specifics came in, more detailed evaluations would need to be done. But we looked at, again, the Homestead system as a whole, so you can kind of see the point of interconnection locations there. Throughout this study, we incrementally added generation to see how the transmission would respond and look at a single contingency scenario. So jumping into These next two slides just show you lots of tables, but the main takeaway here is that column on the right, as long as it is under 100%, that means that there are no concerns or limitations that would cause a network upgrade that we identified in this, like I said, high-level desktop overview. So this is the 100 megawatt edition case, so nothing concerning here. You're sitting, 70%-ish and below. And then if you jump up to 250 megawatts of additional generation under that 2026 case, you do start to see a couple of lines that, are moving beyond that 100% mark, but nothing that stands out. This is the point where we would start to maybe consider some network upgrades. Again, this is just that high-level desktop overview, and as more project specifics came in, we would need to evaluate and continue this evaluation. So kind of, as we've discussed, this is heavily dependent on the current contract assumptions and sizes, but you could, it appears, under the current portfolio and current need and expected demand, add some solar to your system. There do appear to be a couple of sites that do not fall within the floodplain that do at least have 20 acres of usable land. And there do not appear to be any transmission limitations throughout this analysis. So should assumptions change at all, though, we would need to reevaluate this to make sure that results were consistent with these findings. So with that, any questions?
Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you for that presentation. Based on the parcels that you showed us that are available for the installation of solar, did that equate about 22 megawatts of solar?
So I think in total, yes, if you considered all three of those. And again, you'd need to do additional, this was just the desktop review, so additional studies would be needed on environmental side, availability, things like that.
Okay, and in phase 2 of your assessment, will it include the impact that the Inflation Reduction Act can offset some of the cost?
Yes, absolutely. We would take a look at that and we would see PTC versus ITC and make a recommendation and discuss with Homestead to see what the best option was for your situation as well as to offset those costs.
Do you have any examples of how much the Inflation Reduction Act has reduced solar?
Yeah, so it really depends, I would say, based on, if you elect to take the ITC versus the PTC, where your solar facility is located. There are some additional tax credits that you can take advantage of if they're in specific locations, specific districts, things like that. So it would be very heavily dependent on kind of what we would expect a solar project to look like and kind of where we'd expect it to be located in the city.
And are there any other credits along that are embedded within that Inflation Reduction Act, carbon credits, and can you explain what those are?
Yeah, so the Inflation Reduction credits don't include those. But so I think you're talking more REC credits, renewable energy credits. Is that where you're going?
Yeah.
So I don't believe that we generally have considered those in the past. It's something that we could definitely talk through, though, as we move through the project to see if that makes sense to include as one of our cost metrics.
Okay. That's all I've got, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Yes, Councilwoman Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor. As interested as I've been in solar for years now, it's still incredibly confusing. The first thing that came to mind when you said any comments, I was, could you repeat that?
Yeah. What'd you say?
So a couple things come to mind. First of all, especially when considering how to offset certain costs, have any areas used their buildings or offered businesses or larger residents the opportunity to have the panels on their buildings? I'm thinking, what's the cost of that 20-acre piece of land? What could that better be used for? And if there are all these rooftops that are not being used, if any areas take advantage of that. And then my second question is, I've also seen a lot of bodies of water with solar panels on them. Would that be something that we could avail ourselves to as well?
Yeah, so to your first question, I have seen community solar projects. Generally, size would depend on public interest, size of the program, things like that, which would fall kind of into another review for that specific use case. And then as far as your second question goes, absolutely, we could definitely take a look at those bodies of water. I'm not sure without seeing anything or having further discussions if they would be viable to put solar panels on, but it would be something that we could look at.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Roth? Councilwoman Fairclough? I wish that my colleagues had had the opportunity, and perhaps they can in the coming days, to be in on the initial conversations that the manager and I had with what I feel are credible and serious proposals for the waste to energy component. And I'm all about renewables. That's the future. But my takeaway here on phase one of this study, and look, the numbers speak for themselves. It's not a reflect. It's just, here's the evidence that you've identified parcels that are neither in the city of Homestead nor owned by the city of Homestead that are prime agricultural parcels that would only produce about a third of our overall needs, versus representations have been made to us that with less than an acre of city land or a city site, the city of Homestead's entire solid waste haul could be compiled and converted to a product that cleanly fires generators that could be located within the footprint of our existing plant. So where the city's really not going out and spending multi-million dollars. Now, do I believe solar is a piece of the puzzle of the future? Absolutely. When we talk about bodies of water, I think the fill pit will be dug out one day. And that's probably going to have a surface of, what, Julio, maybe 60 acres, the fill pit? That is so, that at some point in the future, that may be the place for that kind of technology as it goes forward. But I think in terms of what can be up and running without going through spending tens of millions of dollars and entering into other public-private partnerships over many, many months, I really don't see at this point, personally, knowing what I know about the waste to energy, that I know staff has been in contact with the proposers, and it's very fascinating and even since they first spoke with the manager and I a year, 14 months ago, how that technology has evolved. I'm not dismissing solar. I just, at this point, the capacity, what you get, the bang for the buck per acreage versus the potential of solving our recycling problem, our waste to energy problem, and fueling modern generators issue. I'd like each of you to get briefed individually by staff to know what I know and what they know. And that's not to say that in the future we can't do a phase two, but it seems to me, knowing what I know, knowing what I see here in this study and what I know about the potential for waste to energy, I can't support spending the money to go forward with the phase two at this point. And again, it's not dismissing solar. I think there is a more efficient solution on the horizon, and we can revisit this in the future and make it part of our puzzle. I mean, certainly we've already bought into a solar farm that's up and running, that someone else cannibalized agricultural land and made the investment. And when we avail ourselves of all of that, it's 25% of our needs. It can be up to 25% of our needs. I think it was represented at about 20% cheaper than what we have now. And as long as we continue to avail ourselves of that, but I just see at this point other alternatives to kill 2 or 3 birds with one stone. And again, not dismissing this, but I think it's a little premature and not as efficient. Doesn't seem to be as efficient as what's been presented to us as a waste to energy solution. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, you said earlier as you were speaking that we would spend gazillions of dollars. We don't know what we're going to spend or what we would save unless we go. We don't know what we're going to spend or what we would save unless we go to phase 2 to determine exactly what our financial impact would be. And I'm all for all sorts of alternative energies and any technology that's going to move us forward, regardless of the fact we have purchase power agreements that we're in bed with some of these people for 20 years. It'd be nice for us to be the owner of that facility after those 20 years, that we could in turn sell that back to the grid, even if we have that great fancy waste to energy, which I'm a big fan of that too. But I don't think we can predetermine, say it's going to cost gazillions of dollars because we haven't gotten there yet. So I'd like us to have that opportunity to see what the financial impact would be and then make that decision.
I happen to know who owns both of the identified parcels, and it may be to that gazillion number. It may very well be. And that's my point. In terms of return for investment, that the 30 megs of solar versus, and correct me, I think we were talking about 80 to 100 megawatts could be produced by the solid waste, the refining of the solid waste tonnage that we now produce. Is that accurate?
That's what they represented, something like that, Mayor.
Yeah, okay. And again, I want us to look at all renewables. But when I look at cannibalizing prime agricultural land outside our city limits that we do not own for a third of our needs, $42,000 is not a lot of money in the big scheme of things, but is this going to be a study that just gets put on the shelf?
Well, it's going to be the same thing when we do a feasibility study to see if we're ready for waste energy. Same thing. We're going to go through the same process.
Probably not, but okay. Councilwoman? Councilman?
Thank you, Mayor. So can you just explain a little bit what would be the difference in the information that we would receive after the second phase?
For this phase 2 study? Yes, yeah. So what we'd plan to do is we would look at the economics of your current portfolio as compared to a portfolio where you owned a solar facility versus a portfolio that contained a utility scale solar that you were taking a portion of under contract via PPA. We would then look at that and go over a 20-year period, I believe probably at the monthly level, to see what those costs looked like. So that would include everything from capital to O&M, anything that you would need to build and maintain that facility. Those costs would then be used to create an NPV, and we would use that to compare the costs of each portfolio to determine what the least cost option would be. In addition to that, we would provide kind of some high-level commentary on any other considerations outside of that economics that you may want to consider throughout the process as you're looking to potentially move forward with solar, or if you are at that point.
Thank you. So do you think that could include city-owned properties, buildings that are currently on there? I'm not sure if the size of the building equates to that 20 acres, or if you could fit more on a larger roof than you could in a field. Would you be able to explain a little bit of that also?
Yeah, so one of the big implications with some of the other sites, and these were example sites that were presented in the presentation. There were a number of other sites. They were not presented. I would have to go back and look. I believe they were slightly smaller with usable area outside that floodplain. The big thing that you do run into when you have a site that's within the floodplain is some economic hits to the project, because you have now increased insurance and you have other considerations when building, because water and electricity don't necessarily mix. So you need to make sure that everything is in line and ready to go so that it's a safe facility to operate. We could revisit things and kind of determine how we may best approach that, if that's something that you guys wanted to consider going forward into phase 2.
So I think that recycling is a more pressing issue than our electrical, but it doesn't mean that we can't do both. If this analysis would help us, then I'm definitely for it. Again, I would love to be able to sit down more and just understand that process better. Again, I think with the water, you know, we're surrounded. I really feel like we've got some solutions with the water. You know, between our parks and Turkey Point, perhaps. I just think we really need to look at the water as another means. So I would support it, but I would also love to hear about the recycling and what opportunities we have there. So that's a big issue. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman, did you want to? Very good. Councilman? All right, so somebody want to move approving
Mr.
going
Mayor?
forward with phase 2? Yes, Councilman Fletcher.
Again, I'm sorry I'm not there this evening, folks. Give me a couple more weeks and I'll be back in stride there with you guys. But I think we are putting the cart before the horse right now when it comes to solar energy. I believe that large-scale solar projects are just not in our purview at this point in time. Had we gotten into this 10 years ago when we had the land available, that we could have gotten at a much lower rate, I think we might have been able to benefit from that. But I think we need to be looking at more small-scale type solar facilities that would ultimately benefit the residents of Homestead. This large-scale stuff just doesn't work feasible at this point in time. Again, I'm sorry for not being there in person. I'm looking at this on a very small screen. I did not take the opportunity to look at the presentation prior to. However, based off of my 30-plus years in the energy industry, I don't believe this is the right path to move forward at this time. With that, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Avila, are you back with us? Is she back with us? Councilwoman Avila? Okay. Yes, Vice Mayor.
Taking into consideration everybody's opinions and their comments, I'd like to make a motion to approve the phase 2 feasibility study.
It's been moved. Do we have a second? A second by Councilwoman Fairclough Saggers. Let's see if there's any public input. Don't see any. Don't hear any online. So we'll close the public hearing. And all those in favor of approving the expenditure for the phase 2, aye. Any opposed? Aye.
Nay.
All right, very good. Carry on with phase 2.
Thank you all.
Thank you. I believe that includes the agenda items for tonight. Mr. Manager, anything further? Nothing further, Mr. Attorney?
No, Mayor.
With that, I'll entertain a, yes, Councilman Roth.
Just one thing, and I brought this up a month or two ago, and for staff, the potential landfill south of the new development. Can you bring us an update next week? If you know anything more, I know I got more information. I think I forwarded it on to you guys as far as them proceeding to try to continue with that process of putting the landfill in that area. So
We'll get you more information. We'll have a report for you at the council meeting.
thank you. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I want to give a special thanks to City Manager and Pedro and Parks and Rec for the pickleball tournament that they hosted at JD Red Park. There was over 350 people there. A lot of people that had never been to Homestead. and it was just a class act. And the tournaments have really showed the economic impact that they could have on the city. A lot of people were eating at the restaurants that we're visiting, and it was a 2-day event. So thank you, Pedro, for you and all your work and your staff, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
And Vice Mayor, with such a success, we're thinking of creating a city employee league for pickleball. They're at the park.
Now, there's your reality show. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn? And all in favor? Aye. Thank you all. Good night.